bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
What up, what up? Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. How you doing, everybody? How you doing? How you doing? Today's Thursday, March 3rd. 62 days into the new year, 302 days left. We are live from the bunker right here in downtown Burbank, California. I'd like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. It's Fade to Black. For KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the Planet. I'm your oh so humble host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? Yeah, we got a good one tonight. Tonight is Fader Night. Best night of the week. That's right. And tonight, we have a very special guest with us right here. Comedian Ryan Singer is live in the studio. He's going to co-host with me and man the phones all night long. Call-in number is 323-825-5045. You know what to do. All right. Let's get the show cracking. It's going to be great. Excited, fired up. And right before the show tonight, really cool, Ryan has a Mindcast. And I was the guest on his Mindcast. So we did like a twofer, right? 2 for 1. So I was able to do that. And we had a brilliant, fun. Brilliant's a little self-serving, but it was. And a great conversation. And you know what? He can't see me because he's on the other side of the wall of doom. But he's over there. Say hi to everybody, Ryan.
Hello. Thanks for having me, Jimmy.
Man, you got a great radio voice.
Oh, thank you. I've been working on it for years.
Yeah, sounds good. Now, so really quick, I'm going to cut you off because we're going to get back to the show. But it was a brilliant conversation, wasn't it? It was fun and it was open. And what I had said to Ryan, I said, this is pretty good stuff, man. I think we should just run the recording of this for the first hour of the show, and let's split out of here, man, and go hit the bar down the street. Then we can come back and continue with the show. Nobody would know. And I say that, Ryan, we'll talk about it more in a little bit, but I say that because the way that you do your Mindcast is what this show is, which is just an open conversation. And that's where the magic happens. And we're going to talk about see what we're doing right now, Ryan. You can respond. Say yes.
Yes, I do see it. I also hear what we're doing.
Yes, yeah. Right. And so now I almost don't want to stop talking right now, and I want to just continue on with the show. I got to get the sponsors and get some stuff out of the way, and
Pay
then
bills.
And then we'll get back to it. All right. Say bye, Ryan.
Bye.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I'm just letting you know. Ryan is here. He's here. He's in the dark, by the way. He's in the dark, but he is here live. All right, please check out our latest sponsor, Life Change Tea. There's a reason why I'm so uppity right now. I take Life Change Tea. Oh, Ryan, I'm going to bring you back in. How many bottles of supplements do you see on my side of the table? A lot, huh?
Yeah, I see a lot.
Yeah. Big ones too, right?
Well, yeah, you got all shapes and sizes. You got a smorgasbord of supplements.
And it's because I take them. And I believe I'll hook you up before you go. Yeah, whatever ails you, okay, Ryan, I got it right here on this table. All right, so Life Change Tea, Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, getthetea.com. The links are there. Mention Jimmy when you order, either over the phone or online. Do what you got to do. Get free shipping. There's always good specials over at getthetea.com. Studio Dome Fader Not Special. You know what to do there. Portable Bluetooth surround sound system. Hard shell case, $99. Wireless. It's the way to go. Just mention Jimmy when you order. Free shipping. 60% off. It's $299. You get it for $99. Absolutely best deal on the net anywhere. We have the official status of the summer is up at jimmychurchradio.com. If you go over to the future page, you will see everything there with all of the links. Just go and click for the New Living Expo, which is April 29th through May 1st up in San Mateo, which is actually San Francisco, California. And Contact in the Desert is June 3rd through the 6th in Joshua Tree, California. The Roswell Festival, June 30th through July 3rd in Roswell, New Mexico. And then UFOs Within Reach, August 19th through the 21st in Big Bear, California. All right, let's get this show cracking. Let's go. Today, physicist Brian Cox, the kid, the physicist, is 48 years old. So I guess he's no longer a kid. He's 48. He looks like he's 8. I bet you right now, I'll bet you Brian Cox still gets carded. Yeah, he don't get in the club. I guarantee it. Follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. You know what the deal is there. And you can email throughout the show, Jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com. Just make it good, make it smart. Get it past the producers here, and it will make its way into the bunker. Any questions or comments during the show? Hashtag F2BQ. That's what you want to do. Ryan is here. Any comments or questions for Ryan tonight? We're taking your calls all night long. You can also, if you can't call in, just hashtag F2BQ. We will see it. Of course, the sandbox is hashtag F2B. Come and hang out with all of us on this day in history. 1873. Ah, man. See, this is why I've got Ryan in here tonight, because I know he's going to say something about this. 1873, Congress enacts the so-called Comstock Law, making it illegal to send any obscene, lewd, or anything fun through the mail. Also, unlawful under the law is sending anything designed or intended for the prevention of conception or procuring of an abortion. That was 1873. I wonder how long that lasted.
The actual law?
Yeah, because obviously with it wasn't in effect when Playboy started shipping, right? So let's say that was 60 years, right?
Yeah, I just imagine people like getting their their thrills through like telegraph or through Morse code, and like trying to do it that way. But I just don't know if it's as effective. That
is funny. Yeah, think about that. Some guy losing his mind, behind his desk.
What'd she say?
Yeah. That's funny. Oh, man. Take off your shirt in Morse code, right? Yeah, that's funny.
What are you wearing right now? Short, long, short, long?
Oh, man, that's funny. Fader fact, ostriches and zebras live together to protect each other from predators. I did not know that. The ostrich can see better, and the zebra can hear or smell danger better. They figured it out. That's called evolution, right? They figured it out. They cohabit. They get along. They just get along, and that's how they survive. That's absolutely
that is amazing. And the zebra, isn't the zebra the one of the few animals that they realized our human ancestors realized years ago that you couldn't break a zebra, you could to ride it. Like they tried to.
Oh, that's right.
The same way of horses too.
Yeah, you never see anybody riding a zebra. It ain't going to happen. No, or you would, but
not for long.
Yeah, it'd be a dead man. Today, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un said that the country's nuclear warheads need to be ready for use at any time. And I started to think about that comment because of the movie The Interview. and which I thought was hilarious, by the way, and I can't see why he would have been offended by that, because I thought it was pretty cool, and I thought that he was portrayed as a pretty cool guy. But that being said, and I was thinking about the way that the interview dealt with how bad North Korea is. They actually made that dismal, dreary, gnarly life that everybody lives in that country every single day funny. And that's okay. And what the interview did, it poked fun at it, but it was a funny movie, but it also exposed the world to something else that most people may not care about or concern themselves with, and that is North Korea. And the poking, the humor that was behind it also allowed us to become more aware of how not only reclusive and how little we know about North Korea, but that, you know what, as bad as it is, it's okay to laugh at it too. And it got me to thinking, and this is how I think. You know, I've got Ryan Singer coming in today. And Ryan's a funny guy, and I went and just laughed for the last couple of weeks, you know, watching Ryan stand up and some of his stuff that I thought his social commentary was spot on the money, and he allowed people to laugh at things that they normally shouldn't laugh at, like calling a cracker a cracker. I thought that was brilliant, but we'll more on that in a minute. But I started to think about some of the comedians out there that allowed us to laugh at ourselves and society, and also politics and religion. And Ryan and I were talking about this right before the show tonight. And because I had been writing about it all day, just thinking about this, because my audience knows, the audience listening to me right now knows about my affection and my study of comedy. It's what I do. I've worked for comedians. I have comedians that are friends. My favorite movies of all time happen to be comedies. And that's just the way that it is. I study and appreciate it. And I was going down the list. And this is what I put together today is Sam Kinison. Sam Kinison had a way of dealing with world issues, famine, religion, black, white. He had a way of making us aware through comedy. And if you think about it, that's a difficult talent. That's a hard thing to master, that you are taking a subject that is so dark, but making it funny, and then we are aware of what they're talking about, like Ethiopia and starving children, right? Okay, that's one example. And then we had one of the greats, Bill Hicks. And Ryan, your mic is on. You're live.
Yeah, let me tell you something about, first of all, with the Kinison thing. Like, as a kid who was raised Catholic, I mean, when I first saw Kinison, or heard Kinison, I should say, it just blew my mind. I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's like speaking to me in such a way that resonated. Because I think when it comes to like exactly what you're saying, as a comedian, I know it's been my goal or like dream to achieve, like, imagine all these difficult issues and subjects in the world are their own language. And a comedian, I think, is probably, at least for me, I mean, I'm biased, of course, a comedian is the most pure interpreter of that language.
Right.
To be able to give it to the masses. So
right.
As a comedian, if you can interpret that difficult language of these social issues and other things that people don't want to talk about publicly, and then you can interpret that into the language of laughter, there's no better way to make someone think about something.
That's right. And if you look at, you just said the key word there, the masses, but also going back for hundreds of years, the court jester, right? Comedians also had to make the boss laugh.
Yeah.
So you had to, you had to make sure that, the guy is laughing as well as the people underneath him and around. You know what I mean? And it had to span that. That's where the awareness is. You know what I mean? Whether it's starving people in the streets, dying of bubonic plague, right? Whatever it is, You had to make everybody, laugh at those things that were going around you. Kinnison did it. Bill Hicks, one of the the thing is about Bill. Okay, well, let me go through my list here, and then we'll actually touch upon this here in a second. Bill Hicks is somebody that died so long ago that, and it's crazy. It's been 22 years now.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And he died so young. But I hate that when people say that. He died so young. But he did. He truly did. And he happened to master the art of politics and religion and comedy and toilet humor too. He was really good at that too.
Oh, no doubt about it.
Yeah. And but he was able to infuse all of that together with serious intellect to the point where other comedians and politicians and religious leaders thought he was brilliant. And he brought such an awareness to us. He talked about UFOs, man, and he talked about drugs, and he talked, music and religion, but he was able to make so many very personal, private things that were affecting society, and he brought it to the public, and he made us laugh about it. George Carlin might be the master of them all.
Yeah, those two dudes are like, especially the masters.
Yes.
But especially with Hicks too, it's like even if you didn't agree with the guy, you can't help but laugh, because and people forget that he had the soft side to him too. I mean, some of his funniest stuff is when he's doing impressions of his mother, and when he was a kid, and so it wasn't just all fire and brimstone coming out of his mouth, nor Kinnison's, but
right.
Carlin was also so great. Like his specials, like he opens up with a 7-minute chunk on farts, the different types of farts or things like that, and then he gets into the New World Order after that, or you know what I mean. So
that's right.
He really he greases the door to your mind. And then the bigger issues can slip right in.
The thing about Carlin for me was when you sit and you go through 90 minutes of him and you get to the end and you think to yourself, it happens to 100% everybody. How can somebody be so bleeping smart?
Yeah.
I mean, that is smart. It's not genius because that goes with the territory. Smart is a whole nother category of smartness. You know what I mean? He is just smart, and it was just amazing. That's what you think. You think to yourself, I'm really an idiot. I'm not as smart as I thought I was, because that right there, that Carlin guy is a smart guy.
Yeah, his comedy was such a next level experience. At least for me, like every time I listen to a stand up comedy album, whether I'm just taking a walk around my neighborhood or in my car. It doesn't happen with everybody, but with Carlin, it happens every single time, and I'm aware of it, and it still happens. Within 7 to 8 minutes, I'm transported, and now it's an experience.
Yes.
Now I'm living inside of this world he has created with his cadence, with his sound, with his ideas, and he's just such a craftsman. And it was like someone told me that to the day he died, he was still working on his his baseball joke.
Yes, the one that he never perfected.
Yeah,
right.
To the day he died. And to me, that's like, because you got these young comedians now sometimes, because Louis C.K. will do an hour a year or whatever it is, and then you won't do the material anymore. So these younger comedians are like, I'm doing what Louis does. I'll record it, and then I'm not doing it anymore. It's like no one's demanding your material yet, man.
Right.
Why are you just burying it? Like, no joke is ever done, to me. I mean, I don't know. And Carlin, I think, is the perfect. You're gonna sit here and question George?
Yeah, no, you can't. Yeah, and there's a few that you don't do that, and George is one. And I'll tell you what. As I put this list together, and I have some new guys, and I have something, but it kind of lets you know where my mind is. I like those intelligent comics. I like the guys that are just stupid. And just do the stupid jokes, and because that makes you laugh too. But then you have a guy like Lenny Bruce, who forced you to think about sadness and racism and just the bitterness of the world, and then as you start to get into this, because it was like a surrealistic pillow kind of thing where he sucks you into that world of his, right? But then you get in, and once you step through, you have to release yourself. You gotta accept, and get into it. But when you do, you realize that this is like the funniest man that's ever walked the face of the earth. And Lenny Bruce was able to do that. Now, it was so radical at that time, jail and the threat of getting arrested was a revolving door, and it was probably what brought him down. And
I mean, there are comedians nowadays. I mean, specifically if you're going to go do a corporate gig, a lot of times you got to work squeaky clean, which is fine. I mean, I guess you don't take the gig if you can't do it. But some comedians will be worried, like, oh, I hope I don't get fired from this gig because I slip up or something. It's like, well, I mean, that's the biggest of your concerns anymore,
right?
As opposed to, what about spending the night in jail because of freedom of speech and all that kind of stuff? It's just like, oh man, the Live at Carnegie Hall album. I mean, I had that LP on vinyl, and it was just, oh, Lenny Bruce, man. And I just tried to devour everything. And I think Dustin Hoffman did a pretty great job.
He did. Actually, Dustin Hoffman sucked you in.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did a great job. And I just can't imagine living in that kind of world. And also in the world of comedy, where, it's funny. We just got off my rant, and I can't, I don't know if we're going to get back into it, which is fine. That's the brilliance of this show right now, this conversation. But with Lenny, that was that period of censorship, right? The threat of doing something indecent or saying something that somebody else considers perverse, and you get handcuffed and go to jail, right? And face court and face jail time for just talking. That was an amazing thing. And then we matured out of that, and then when you got into comedy of the 70s, where it was like, okay, the gloves are off. Richard Pryor comes along, and that whole 1970 to 1985 thing, where the gnarlier you got you the bigger gigs, right?
Yeah.
and it was okay. The language, the drugs, the sex. The other thing, you could talk about murder or necrophilia, and make jokes about that. And then it got okay. And then kind of weird, man. Then it kind of came back, didn't it? The whole PC world came in.
We're in a PC revolution right now.
Yeah, PC revolution.
Yeah, especially here in the Los Angeles comedy scene, you have to be aware. And I understand there's so many different things at play here that it's such a complicated conversation. But, whether it's the rise of the matriarchy, and feminism really, finally grabbing the reins and taking control for themselves. Because, anybody who acts like stand-up comedy has been a safe haven for women over the last 40 years, I think they're lying to themselves. And, a lot of comedians don't want to take a responsibility upon themselves, like specifically the straight white male kind of guy. But, it's like women haven't felt safe in that world of stand-up comedy, and now they're really taking charge and making it a safe place for them. And it's really beautiful, and I think there's going to be really great rewards reaped from
I think
that.
You're lying right now. You're just lying. Are you trying to book a tour with
I'm trying to change my demographic.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you're trying to change your agent.
Yeah, but there is a lot of the freedom that came from the 70s, whether it's, Pryor talking about all the gnarliest things, and then also the absurdity that comes from that, too, which I think is probably, for me, the most beautiful part, too. Like, whether it's Steve Martin just doing the most absurd, like one of the favorite lines I've ever heard in stand-up comedy to this day, I believe it's off the Let's Get Small album, where he finishes a joke, and then his transition is, I'm so mad at my mother, and that's just okay, we're in this next thing now.
Right.
And
I memorized that album.
Oh, so good.
Oh, man. Wait, where did those, you remember, I'm sure the audience, is, at least some of them, can go back this far, when the comedy album was like the greatest thing ever?
Yes.
Bill Cosby records, Steve Martin records, and you had these collections of comedy records mixed in with your Kiss albums, and where did those, does it I know that you just released a new record.
Yeah.
Actually, okay, hold on. You know what? Let me now, Ryan, can I do my show?
I do want to hear the rest of the list. Yeah, I do want to hear the rest of your list.
Can I do my show?
Yeah.
Is it okay?
Of course.
Man. I knew it. You bring a guy in here that talks too much with the guy that also talks too much, and this is what you're going to get. Okay, well, I'm going to go through this really quickly. I think Dennis Miller had a way of combining intelligence and political and world awareness and consciousness, and was able to perverse it out completely into humor, and was able to combine that with intelligence. And he's not everybody's type of comic, but for somebody that can apply attention, right, that doesn't have a short attention span, and can swing with him and go with his thought process, I don't think anybody did it better. And him and Bill Maher, I think Bill Maher and him are very similar in a lot of respects. And Bill Maher is able to combine, politics and sex and religion and lesbian, gay issues and pot. He's able to do all of that, and we're able to laugh at it. And it's for both of those guys, for Dennis and Bill. And Jon Stewart, he's another guy,
for sure.
That pulls that off. And I just thought about that today when I was thinking about Kim Jong-un and the way that Dennis and Bill and Jon Stewart have all dealt with North Korea, right? Mm-hmm. And they should all be on some assassins list, from the North Korean Defense Forces. But they are able to do that. And if North Korea only knew that that's how we looked at them, but they don't. They have no clue. And I think that they would look at the world a little bit differently if they understood how we understood what's really going on over there, and we do it through comedy. And it's not through bitterness. And I hope I'm making sense. And
you make sense to me. I mean, because we talked about it earlier today about having a sense of humor about yourself is the most effective way about communicating your beliefs to other people.
Yeah, the movie The Interview, I ended up liking Kim Jong-un, and it wasn't even him, right? And you know who else is really good? And I had an opportunity a few times to hang out with him and have long conversations with him, was Richard Lewis.
Oh, my gosh. When I was a kid, I have to cut you off, even though I know.
No, go ahead.
When I was a kid,
we have 45 seconds, by the way.
Oh, I wanted to be a combination of Richard Lewis and Robin Williams. That was my goal as a stand-up comedian as a kid. I was like, someday I'm going to grow up and I'm going to be those two fused together, like an improv maniac neurotic.
Well, how'd that go for you?
Well, I don't know. I think I might have actually be getting closer. I'm letting the hair grow out.
You just need some dark circles. Richard Lewis, to me, when Richard, and this is a heck of a list that I have here. Here, I'll wrap it up. Dennis Leary, Lewis Black, Eddie Izzard, and then I just added Brian Regan right before the show, as you and I were talking earlier. And all of these guys, Eddie Izzard, I just saw him at the Hollywood Bowl with Rita when he came through town a few months ago. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
And so we sat right down in front in a box. And, we've seen all of his stuff, over the years, but to actually get to see him do it live was pretty incredible. But these are guys that are able to take world badness, sadness and issues and put them on the table, and we can all laugh about it. Tonight, my guest is Ryan Singer. We are here. Now, we got all of that comedy stuff out of the way. We're going to do some of that coming up. But we're going to talk about all the other stuff that we always talk about on the show. And I'm going to find out why Ryan contacted us. Oh, it's good. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, taking your phone calls all night long. This is Fader Night, 323-825-5045. It's Ryan Singer when we come back. Stay with us.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
What's up, revolutionaries? It's me, Jimmy Church. Do you have an IRS or state tax issue? Well, I did, and I called national tax experts. My problems were fixed, done, symphony. And man, I got to tell you, it was a relief. National Tax Experts are a recognized tax office that services clients in all 50 states. Doesn't matter where you live. Give them a call. I'm telling you, they take the time to understand each and every client's individual financial status as well as their financial goals. And that's exactly what you need, my brother, when you're taking on the evil 3-letter. So, seriously, give them a call today at 1-877-909-5444. Again, 1-877-909-5444. Or go check out their website, www.nattaxexperts.com. That's NATTAXEXPERTS.com. Tell them Jimmy sent you.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Hi, this is Chase Kletsky with Fate Magazine Radio, and you're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station where the Fadernauts rock.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
Welcome back to Fade to Black. Man, Ryan and I cutting it up here, telling stories in the break. Almost didn't make it back to the mic. Ryan Singer live with us in the studio. Tonight is Fader Night. 323-825-5045. 323-825-5045. Yes, the calls are lining up. And, Ryan, you just want to go to it? You want to take some calls?
Yeah, I mean, let's do it.
All right, let's just let's start banging them out. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling? Say hi to Ryan Singer.
Hey, Ryan, this is Sal from Olean, New York.
Hey, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, Jimmy.
Hey, Sal.
How's it going?
It's going good, Sal. And you called us, remember?
Yeah. I called to talk to you about a specific thing that I was so intrigued by the beginning. I'm a consummate name dropper. I've seen Cheech and Chong in concert, George Carlin in concert. One of the best evenings I spent was watching Sam Kinison down in Pittsburgh.
Absolutely.
At a small nightclub. So I just wanted to comment on that. But my main comment that I called for this evening was back to that other stuff, and I've been down that 9/11 rabbit hole here recently. And I've been loving your rants lately, by the way. But you went on a little Howard Stern thing the other day.
I sure did.
And pardon me?
I said I sure did. And I was right. I didn't say anything bad.
No, not at all.
Okay.
And,
right.
I'm not a huge Howard Stern fan. I happened to just listen to him for a couple of years there out of, because it just happened to be where my vehicle was going, you know what I'm saying? Sirius Radio, when he first came on. But I talked to you before about where I was on 9/11, but a thing about that was the following year on the day, they replayed what Howard Stern did on 9/11. They did a replay of his show, which I hadn't heard. But I was intrigued by it.
In what respect?
They were so well informed. It was, real time coverage. They were in New York City.
Right, of course.
And I'm here a year later listening to them, and they knew names and places and Osama bin Laden and the whole thing. It was just really intriguing to me how much they knew. I thought, oh, these people are smart.
Right.
And now looking at it, after the things that we've heard about misinformation and this and that and all the other stuff, sometimes it's just kind of curious to me how well informed they were.
Yeah, that is interesting. I'm actually going to have to go back and listen to that. Ryan, have you ever done the Howard Stern show?
No, I've not done the Howard Stern show, but it sounds like kind of what you're alluding.
Have I ever called in?
No, I've never been on. I have a lot of friends who go on there, but the idea is almost like they had talking points. It sounds like.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
I must have got cut off.
Hold on. My bad.
Uh-oh.
Okay, now you got him.
Okay, now.
Can you hear him now?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that, Sal. That's me, man. That's all me.
Okay, no problem.
We were getting crazy in here at the break. So it sounds like what you're talking about is almost like they had like a talking points memo already like in their possession. By the way, if I'm not mistaken.
It just came to me just in the last couple of weeks, thinking about that in retrospect from how impressed I was at the year after.
Yeah. I'll have to go back and check that out, Sal. I think that's a very.
I might be out there, but.
Well, I've had many friends that were there. I was on the phone with some friends of mine that were right there across the street while it was going down that day, and it was pretty interesting to hear the real-time reports, and then also guests on the show that were there too as well. And I'm trying to think of I'll pull it up here in a second. I don't want to get sidetracked, but how the coverage was strange when it comes to 9/11, and I don't know if we'll ever get to the bottom of it, Sal. But you know what? Thank you for the phone call, brother, and I'll see you on Monday right here.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Sal.
Thanks.
Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling? Say hi to Ryan Singer.
Hi, Jimmy. Hi, Ryan.
Hello.
This is Bev.
Oh, hey, Bev. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing much, much better.
You sound much, much better. But say hi to Ryan, Bev.
Hi, Ryan.
Hey, Bev. How are you tonight? You're doing better. I like to hear that.
So, Bev, to test Ryan right now, throw him a paranormal question.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, let's do this.
Okay. Let me see. Have you had any encounters?
I have had, I guess specifically when it comes to, I have not had any encounters with aliens or UFOs, nor ghosts. I have had encounters with people who, whatever was happening is unexplainable to me to this day. I guess, this is kind of a big box to take the lid off of right now, Jimmy, but I had an ex-girlfriend who really piqued my interest in all this from just over 10 years ago. I was dating a woman here in Los Angeles, California, and she told me she had some abnormal things that she was unable to explain that she experienced, and I witnessed them twice. Whether you want to call it shape-shifting or morphing, I guess is, just a your choice in language. But one day she was 9 months pregnant just for the whole night, and then in the morning when we woke up, she was back to normal. And then,
oh my gosh,
yeah, it was. They say seeing is believing, but I actually felt it with my hands. And I grew up in Southern Ohio, so I'm used to being around young women who are pregnant because all my sisters, got pregnant when they were like teenagers. I've been around a lot of pregnant younger women, like. That sounds weird, actually. Now that I'm saying it,
yeah,
out loud, but,
that was stranger than your girlfriend's story.
I'm from Ohio too.
Yeah.
What part of Ohio are you from?
I'm originally from Findlay.
Oh, okay.
It's
Yeah,
close.
I had a friend who went to college up there. I'm from Dayton, Ohio, originally. So, but yeah, so that was probably the weirdest. I guess the most outside of the normal thing that I've experienced myself firsthand. And another time, she appeared to be a different woman.
Ooh.
Yeah, so that was the first thing that happened, and it made me feel like I'd gone crazy.
Well, of course. Well, let me ask you really quick. I can't see Ryan's face right now, but I wish he could see mine.
Mine too.
Is this, Ryan, did she have control of this? Was this something that she was doing, or was this something that she didn't have control of and it just happened?
She has no control over it. And the last I spoke to her, it's one of these things, too, and I've heard this a lot when, being lucky enough to have people open up to me about their paranormal experiences. It's that the more they talk about it, the more it seems to happen. And therefore it makes them, inclined not to talk about it a lot. But, she spent the last, I guess the entirety of her life trying to figure out exactly what it is that triggers it. I've had other people reach out and get put in touch with her, whether some people have theorized that it's maybe a jinn, or some people think that it's a fairy that may have an attachment of some kind. Some people think she might be a highly untrained witch. So there's all these different kinds of scenarios that are possible. But at the time where I stand now with her is that she has gone again to not wanting to communicate with me about it. She'll go hot or cold sometimes depending on, because there are real repercussions in her life because of it. And, it's hard for me to empathize because I don't experience it, but I can have some kind of empathy and sympathy for her, and I definitely understand where she's coming from.
Well, let me ask you this, and Bev, thank you for the great question. Look what you just did. And Bev, I want to say goodnight. I've got a ton of calls lined up here, and thank you for that. And I'm going to follow up with Ryan right now on this. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, thank you, Jimmy.
And I'm glad to hear your voice.
Thanks,
I missed everybody. I'm so glad to be back home.
Yeah, there you go. You sound great. Thank you so much, Bev. Give my best to the family.
Thank you. Love you all.
Love you back. And caller, stay right there. I'll get to you in just a second. Ryan, going back to your girlfriend, I understand the pregnancy thing, 9 months pregnant. You can see that, and okay, and we can picture that. Okay, so I get it. Strange, and I'm sure you thought you were in another universe at that moment. But when you say she turned into another woman, now we're in a whole nother thing. What do you mean? She was blonde and I mean she went from that to Oprah?
Well, without giving too much away about it, like I don't think I'm not worried about that. But she was I'd say about 5'2", of Middle Eastern descent,
right?
And maybe weighed $115 soaking wet. I mean, so she was like a petite woman,
right?
And
right.
One night, without getting too graphic, we were in bed together, and we were relaxing after some fun activity, and I looked over at her, and she appeared to be this blonde-haired white woman, and that's when I freaked out.
That happened to me in the 1980s too, but that's a whole other story. It was in West Hollywood, and but and it wasn't a woman either. Yeah. But that's a whole other.
That's a whole other story.
That's a whole other story. But that's crazy.
Yeah, and it was to the point where I thought my reality had shattered. To the where I got up, and she knew something had happened, and she knew it was because she had appeared to be something else to me, even though she was not aware of it. And so I'm just sitting on the end of her bed, kind of rocking back and forth, almost in that almost that cinematic, like, oh, this person's having a breakdown kind of move, and just kind of rocking back and forth, and she's got her arms around me, and she's like, what's going on? I'm like, where am I? And she goes, you're in my apartment. I'm like, where's your apartment? She goes, Culver City. I'm like, where's Culver City? And she goes, well, it's a part of Los Angeles in California. I go, where is California? She goes, it's in North America. And so we had to keep doing that, like from very specific location to the point where she's like, the planet Earth. And I'm like, where is that? And she would say, Milky Way Galaxy. And then I would be like, where am I? And she would say, my apartment. And we just did that for about 15 minutes. And then I just left. Which, in retrospect is a real, it's a real jerk move. But,
right.
And, but I just couldn't cope, and I couldn't process, what I was experiencing. And then, some time went by, and, I chilled out a little bit, and then we started seeing each other again. And, that's when the pregnancy thing happened after that. And when she told me that something had happened and she couldn't see me this particular night, we were supposed to get together and have a date. I was like, not this time. Not this time. I'm reacting in a better way this time. So I went over there, and she let me in. And because I originally had told her even before the first one happened, we had bonded over some weird things. When I was younger, I used to for whatever reason, I used to think that I had a lizard living inside my head, right?
Right.
And I know exactly how crazy it sounds. And, especially when I went to a doctor at one point, because I told my dad, I was like, he's like, what's going on? I'm like, I'm freaking out. I think there's a lizard in my head. It tries to get out every once in a while. I can feel it. And he's like, you need to go see a doctor, which is, I guess, a father would do.
Right.
So I go to see this doctor who's like a family practitioner kind of guy. And I'm in my 20s, by the way. This isn't like I was like 14.
Right.
And so the doctor goes, what's going on? And I go, I know this is going to sound crazy, but I have a lizard in my head, and sometimes it tries to get out, and I can feel it on the back bottom of my head, and that means something weird and big and different's going to happen when I feel that. And he goes, oh, I think you're depressed. And I go, no, I'm not depressed, because I've never had a more clear vision of what I want to do with my life. I'm very happy. And he's like, oh, I think you're depressed. And he just kept saying that over and over again. And so that was the last time I went to a doctor about it.
Interesting. And did the lizard come out?
No, the lizard has never come out, although I'm strangely attracted to lizards.
And can you translate that into, and have you, has that made its way up to your stand-up?
It's coming through more and more, especially the last couple of years. The more I talk about it. I used to do a show.
I mean, as serious as it is, it's pretty damn funny.
Yeah, but it's also in this realm of funny that is, so personal about putting yourself out there in a way of like, oh my God, people are going to think I'm insane. What's this going to do to my career? Now I'm going to be the comedian that, I mean. Because at this point, everybody in the comedy world knows about the shapeshifter and that experience and all that kind of stuff. And, And so, I know for a fact there are people in the LA comedy scene specifically who think that, if they hear, Ryan Singer, like, oh yeah, that guy's crazy. He thinks he dated a girl who could shapeshift or something. Like he's really out there.
But Ryan, you know what? I've had this call on hold. Let's just go ahead and grab this, and then we'll wrap that thought up here in just a second. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Jimmy.
Yes.
Ryan, how are you?
We're doing great.
This is. Oh, hey, how are you?
I'm fine. I had a whole nother call planned, but then I heard what Ryan was going through, and my heart just reaches out to him. Nobody in this community is going to make fun of you, Ryan.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate that.
Yeah, that's.
You know what I'm saying?
Well,
we're all here.
Yeah,
we're all here because we've all had some kind of experience in life, or we're smart enough to know that there's other stuff out there.
Do you know how many?
The whole Horatio thing,
I don't think he realizes how many thousands of people went, yeah, so.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's so true.
It's a good story, Ryan.
Join our Facebook group, Lizards in Our Brain.
Yeah, no empathy here, pal. But you're absolutely right.
But see, that's, Jimmy doesn't know I've only called once before, and I'm brand new to the sandbox. Hi, Fade or Not. Love y'all.
There you go.
But basically, it's we've all been here because we've had other experiences, either with a UFO or ghosts or, whatever. We know there's more out there. So just my piece of advice to you from somebody who's been down this road 45 years, in the trenches with the weird and wonderful. There are people out there, that you can, that are better than that doctor you sat down and talked to. Jimmy knows a lot of them, and I'm sure you can talk to him. I don't know whether you're still dating, if this girl's still in your life, but it sounds like she could use a helping hand too. That's not easy to go through, to try to live a normal life when you have all this extra stuff going with. But I didn't mean to tap the brakes. I'm sorry. I just wanted to throw it out there to you, Jimmy. The other night you had a very smart gentleman on as well. You seem to have wonderfully smart friends. We're talking about the RH negative.
Yep.
Okay. I'm RH negative.
Oh, really?
And
okay.
Yeah, dude. And you kind of go around and you don't realize it to your mom, and you start having kids. And I just wanted to back up everything he said was true.
Yeah, that was an interesting conversation. Ryan, are you hip to the whole RH negative blood thing?
I feel like I've heard it, but I don't have any grasp on it at all.
All right. Well, it's a pretty deep subject, but there's a certain percentage of the population, it's not big, that is Rh negative, and the Rh negative situation could cause death in your family, right? If you mix blood and something happened, or transfusion, or a fetus, there's some kind of blood exchange in the womb. Bad things could happen. But also, there's that aspect, right? There's this whole weird part of Rh negative. And then there is the connection to the Anunnaki and ancient civilizations and an ET extraterrestrial influence on the infusion of Rh negative into Homo sapien. And there's that part of it. And a big, there's a chunk of American Indians that are Rh negative.
I'm Native American as well.
Exactly. And this Rh negative thing, once you get into it and you start to find out more and more about it, it's one of the more fascinating subjects once you start to get into it. So thank you so much, Cisco.
No problem. I'm going to let you go, Jimmy, but I just wanted to tell you, he was absolutely on. I lost 4 children before I found out that this is what was going on.
Right.
The whole part about having psychic abilities.
Right.
Dead on. I've got it all. So I'd love to call and talk to you about it sometime, because I've really been looking for somebody that kind of gets it,
I do my best.
Rock on, everybody. Have a good night.
Yeah,
Okay,
you
too.
too. Thank you so much. That Rh negative tonight. That's your homework, Ryan. You just go home and start to jump into that rabbit hole. It's pretty amazing.
Oh, I mean, it sounds like ultra fascinating, and it speaks out to me, like, especially when what she mentioned. It's like specifically with like the outburst of the internet creating these connections between people to help people feel like they're not alone. And I appreciate her, offering her support to me. And it was about 10 years ago or so when I had these experiences with my ex-girlfriend. And I've met so many people. The more vocal I've become about it, and talking to people about it, the more people I've found who are just like, will pull me aside and be like, oh my gosh, I feel like I can tell you this because, you used to think you had a lizard in your brain. I feel like I can tell you I saw ghosts. I grew up in a haunted house, or these kinds of things. And it is, we all are searching for those connections with people who have similar experiences, because they're more open to, I guess the judgment is gone in that way.
Well, and you said something earlier that just shocked me. For the comedic community to call you strange, right? I mean, first off, that's a badge of honor. But everybody in comedy is just off the rocker weird anyway. You have to be that just to have the courage. I mean, what sane person gets up on stage and tries to crack jokes? That's a whole nother personality, right? You are a special
I'm glad
group.
you said personality, not personality disorder.
Right. Or combination.
Yeah, it could be a combination of both. Yeah, I mean, there is a fascinating element to, like, why do you have to get up there and do that? But I mean, and I've always kind of lived on the outskirts, not the outskirts, but I've always had at least one leg in the outskirts on the fringes of stand-up comedy anyway, as far as just like, whether it's my style or whatever. And I find it very comfortable there, because there's a freedom there. And I think that's what the beautiful thing about like a show like you have here is there's freedom here for information and for people to be themselves and not feel like they will be judged, or, it's an open share, like it's an open share file, like website, it's like you come and you get, and you come and you give, and there's reciprocity there. And I think we all benefit from that.
Are you still in contact with the shapeshifter?
Yes, I am. I actually had it was weird because I was always in contact with her very little. Like, I would send her an email, she would respond with like 3 words, right? And then about a year and a half ago, I started reaching out to her somewhat regularly to see if she would let me interview her for my Mindcast. And then she sent me back one email saying, no, I don't want to do that because if I talk about it, it aggravates it. And so then I dropped it. And then just by happenstance, or whatever the word is, I happened to be in the area where she was currently living. And we decided to get together and hang out because we hadn't seen each other in 10 years. So we did that, and then we're just hanging out and talking. I didn't even know if she would want to talk about it, like, in conversation. And so I brought it up just to see if she wanted because after 10 years of, like, experiencing something, no man is a rock or an island, I think that's a Simon & Garfunkel song.
Right.
But it's true. Like, after 10 years of not having this reinforce these experiences that I had, you start to question your sanity at some point. And, maybe that's weakness or whatever, but it happened. And so then I met her we got together just at the right time, because then we talked about it, and then she filled in some holes for me. And then she goes, you know what, get the microphones out. And so then we did, which I thought would never happen. I never thought she would go on record about it. And so we did a full-length interview, and then she talked about other experiences that she'd had since our experiences together.
Wow, we got to get her. Would she come on this show?
Unfortunately, the last time I talked to her or had contact with her was probably about a month and a half ago. I was on the road, just in a hotel room, and I was like, I'm going to check in with her and see how she's doing. And she was not doing well. And she had since moved again since the last time I talked to her. A person who experiences this finds themselves moving around a lot, as you might imagine.
Of course. And well, what about you should when the next time you reach out to her, you need to ask her about that Rh negative thing.
I will. I'll send her an email when I get home tonight about it, because that is interesting. I've sent her books on the gin, and so we definitely have an open dialogue about it. I do know the last time I heard from her, which was about a month and a half ago, whenever it was, she said that she's no longer going to talk about it anymore.
Well, I have all the right people that she should talk to, and I find it interesting. Oh, I wanted to ask you, we're going to be against a break here in 2 minutes. So, and I haven't asked you this yet. How did you find us?
Well, the world of comedy has afforded me so much that I'll never be able to repay. I was doing a show at Flappers Comedy Club in Burbank. And you already know where this is going, probably.
Yes, I do.
And a guy I've done shows with a few times in the past, who's a buddy of mine, after a show, I think I was on stage talking about, probably how deep I'm getting into crystals or something, right?
Right.
And so afterwards, he's like, I was just on Jimmy Church's show. And I was like, what are you talking about? And Michael Gregorian is who I'm talking about.
Of course.
Funny guy. And I was like, you were on Jimmy Church's show? And he's like, oh, yeah, he loves having comics on. And I was like, oh, man, I'd love to interview Jimmy Church, like, let alone be on his show. Like, I just want to talk to him. And he's like, oh, I'll put you in contact with him. And then we haven't seen each other for more than a few months. And then I got back from the road. I was like, you got a website? So I just sent you. So that's when I sent the email, because my brother's really into all this kind of stuff too. So I was like, I'm sure you have a contact on your website. And I knew you were LA based. So I was like, I'll just send an email.
Yeah, so cool. And it, I had seen, we're going to hit a break here in about a minute. I had seen your cracker bit, right?
Oh, okay. The United Snacks of America.
Yeah, and who hasn't? How many views is that up to?
I think it's 7 million on Pandora.
That's insane. I mean, that's insane. If you think about 7 million people know your name, how stupid is that?
It's really stupid.
That's glorious. You know what I mean? But the bit itself is it depends on what year it would play, is either really frigging offensive or brilliantly written. There's no gray area there. But in this PC world today, we're going to be hitting a break here. In this PC world today, hats off to you for rolling the dice on that, because you're either offending everybody or you're not, and you did it really, really well, and it's completely offensive, and I love every minute of it.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. This is Fade to Black tonight. Ryan Singer is with us, and I did. You know what? I blew by everything, taking phone calls. I never did your intro, your bio. You know what? I promise everybody, when I come back, I'll properly introduce Ryan Singer to the world. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, bespoke radio for the masses. I'll be right back.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
Hello, I'm Katie Lee, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church. Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, the planet.
Welcome back to Fade to Black. Don't adjust your TVs. Don't adjust your television sets. It's one of our media players here is deciding to do its own thing. Pretty interesting. That's the way it goes. Not a big deal. What I wanted to do, and I really mean this, when I said that we were going to have Ryan on the show, the phones lit up, and I ended up going straight to phone calls and didn't do a proper introduction. So let me introduce Ryan Singer to the world. He is the rarest of breeds. He's a comics comic who electrifies mainstream audiences with material that is both uncompromising and unpretentious. Ryan just released his third full-length album, Immortal for Now, after his debut album, How to Get High Without Drugs, and a sophomore release, his second release, Comedy Wondertown, were selected as top 10 comedy CDs of the year in 2010 and 2012. He is the creator and the host of Me and Paranormal You, the twice-weekly Mindcast, in which he has in-depth interviews with people who possess paranormal abilities or have had extraordinary experiences. He was selected by L.A. Weekly as one of the 10 L.A. comics to watch for 2014, was mentioned in New York Magazine as the comic to watch, one of 4 finalists in the original CMT's Next Big Comic Contest. He's a frequent guest on the WTF podcast with Mark Moran, and, of course, the Bob and Tom Show. And his joke, United Snacks of America, does have over 7 million listens on Pandora. Tonight, he's going to join us to take phone calls, talk some paranormal, and everything else that we hold near and dear to us. His website is ryansingercomedy.com. All right, Ryan, now officially welcome to Fade to Black, man.
It's good to be here officially.
And it's pretty fun to do live radio, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, because you just never know what's going to happen.
And so you have been, when did you Bob and Tom is, I grew up with Bob and Tom. I'm from Indianapolis, and that's just it. I remember when their very first show on Q95, right, in Indianapolis. What was, now you're a guest host on that show.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Well, I was going on, I remember I got on, I still have the first set list I took with, like a couple words that'll trigger my jokes and stuff that you turn into the producer when you're going in there, so Tom knows what to feed you. And, I can't remember what year, I think it was 2009 or 2007. And then I went on like maybe 5 or 6 times, and I felt like it was okay. And you're waiting for Bob's laugh. You're waiting for Kavoyan to really give you a good laugh.
Right.
And, because Tom's kind of running the show, like, technically, and then Bob's in there kind of peppering and laughing and doing that kind of stuff. And when you get that first Bob laugh, that's when you're like, okay, I can chill out, I can relax. And then the first 5 times I went in there, I was like, I felt like it was fine, but at the same time, I was like, I'm not getting like a real warm vibe, And then the 6th time I went in, I was just like, you know what? It doesn't really matter. It's just,
Were you doing this from their studio?
Yeah. I'd go into their studio whenever I would work a comedy club in Indianapolis.
Right.
They would set it up so you get in there, and so then, it was like the 6th time I went in. I was just like, in my mind, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go. I'm just gonna be weird old me, And so we're talking about something, and then because a lot of my bits are like long and weird too. Like I have like this 7-minute bit about like my top 6 number 1 inventions of all time, and so I somehow managed to get that whole joke in over the course of like 14 minutes. Because they're interrupting, or we're peppering and we're riffing. And then finally someone goes, well, what are you doing with your career? And I was like, well, a lot of comedians, they want to have like 15 HBO specials, like more than Carlin. I just want to be able to walk through this wall by the time I retire. And then, then they have their fake Gary Busey character call in and they say, I think Ryan's on drugs.
Right.
And then after that moment, it was just, the top was busted off and had a bunch of fun. And then Tom's like, that was really great. You can come in. You should come in and co-host if you're, when Bob's on vacation, if you're interested. And then from there, I've done that probably,
well,
5 or 6 times.
How does that make you feel? I was talking about Howard Stern earlier, right? And I had the same thing happen to me. And, so when you have a moment like that where, the big guy, the dude says, hey, okay, we're going to bring you up from the minors, man. You want to come in and co-host. That's it's not, we're not talking about, some schmo in some border Texas town in a 5-watt station. We're talking about nationwide syndication on the biggest morning program in the United States.
Yeah, and you got to try not to get too ahead of yourself in your my imagination. There's not a lot of great stuff that happens in the future in my imagination.
Right.
You know?
Right.
But so it's all despair and like tragedy.
That's what I'm saying. That stuff doesn't happen to people.
Yeah, so you got to temper your expectations, I guess. But at the time you're like, finally, I'm getting on Bob and Tom. Especially a guy who started in the Midwest, because they're a few hours away, so you have access to it in a major way because they know all the comedy club owners in that general area because they're always sending their comics to do the show.
That's right.
And if you get denied, then it's like, well, you got to try again. You got to try again. And then, are you ready to be on there? Can you work clean? That was a big problem for me. First 5 years of my stand-up comedy life, I was like, I'm an artist. You don't tell me what to say. Don't you dare censor me. This is the last bastion of free speech.
Right,
stand-up comedy,
right.
and I will not. And then you're like, well, do I want to do this for a living or not? And
Yeah.
like, okay.
Do you want to eat or
Yeah,
not?
Exactly. So I challenged myself to write jokes that weren't dirty. And, because I'm like, what, you don't think Brian Regan is funny? Like, he's one of the funniest people ever born. So it's like, so then the challenge became to myself, like, can you write jokes that are funny and clean? And then, boom, then work started coming in.
Brian Regan, I didn't realize this for a long time with him until somebody pointed it out. I'm serious. They're like, he doesn't swear.
Yeah, you don't even notice it.
No, I didn't. And I think I still do. And we were talking before the show about Brian. A lot of people don't. You have to be an aficionado about comedy to get to the Brian Regan level, because he's not, Steve Martin. He's not George Carlin. He's not some household name, right? But he's a comedian's comedian, no doubt. And he's just one of those guys that I picked out as somebody that I wanted to go hang out with and wanted to watch and absorb him. And then it was years. Hey man, he doesn't swear. And I had to go back and how great are you that you don't have to reach into that to be brilliant. I think it's a crutch for a lot of people.
It's next level stuff. And just to accentuate that comic thing as well, it's I know in the world of comedy, comic usually will mean like either the back of the room is laughing when the audience isn't. And usually that's indicative of maybe something's way too weird or way too just truthful for an audience to want to laugh at it. But with Brian Regan, it's the greatest example, and I even get the name drop, so it's a double win for me. But I was opening for Mark Maron for a few years, and he's got WTF podcast, and that podcast really propelled him to have like huge audiences on the road.
Right, right.
One night we were just hanging out at his house, and we watched the documentary Restrepo on Netflix or something, and it was just oh man, like puts you on the edge of just emotional turmoil. Like if someone would have just poked us, we would have started bawling when it was over. And we just looked at each other and we're like, we need to cleanse the palate. How do we do this? And we just looked at each other and we're like, Regan, he's the only thing that can do it right now.
Right.
The only person in the world who can make us laugh right now is going to be Brian Regan. So we watched Brian Regan's special right after.
Which one?
I'm really bad with names.
Okay,
but it's like the Walking on the Moon one. What is it?
Yes.
It's that one. And oh gosh, it was so funny.
I saw Brian. I saw him 2 nights in a row, 3 shows a night or something. 2 shows a night, 3 shows a night at the Improv down in Irvine years ago. And I've seen him many times, but this was one of those times where I was like, you know what? I'm buying tickets to everything both nights, and I'm doing Brian, right?
Wow.
And sold out, packed. And he sees me, and at the end of the second night, it's like Friday and Saturday, right? And now he's seen me for 4 straight shows sitting at the same table.
Like, well, who's this guy?
Right. And I'm walking out, and he's sitting in the back of at the club at the bar, and everybody's filing out, and he's sitting by himself, and he sees me and he goes, "Hey, man," and I said, "Hey, what's going on, Brian? Hey, come over. What's up?" I was like, "Nothing." And we ended up sitting and talking for a while. I mean, the place is closed, right? It's empty. And I just sat there at the bar with him and talked to them, and he was just such a cool guy, and wasn't funny at all, by the way, if you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. Like, he's not the guy who's always on.
No, and we just had a great conversation. Talked life, talked this. He wanted to know about me, why I was there, and but what a cool guy. So anyway, Brian is somebody that when I hang out with other comedians, I will intentionally, I'll test him, because you find out if a comedian has studied the art or not, right? I mean, have you done your homework?
Sure. And if someone doesn't, if a stand-up comedian does not like Brian Regan, it almost shatters my world. Like, I've not had that experience, but I can only imagine I would just be sitting there like, are you a stand-up comedy robot that was misprogrammed?
Yeah. No, I've never heard of Brian Regan, but I'm really into Kevin Hart. Well, you know what?
Last time I was in Indianapolis, speaking of Bob and Tom, I'm doing this comedy club called Crackers downtown.
Oh, love Crackers, absolutely.
And it was like, I've got like maybe 25 people there to see me or something, and then someone's like, "Oh yeah," I'm walking outside. I think I was smoking at the time, so I sneak outside to have a cigarette and self-loathe. And somebody who works there is out there with me, and they go, "Oh yeah." I go, "What's that big building?" And it was like where the Pacers play.
Right.
And he's like, "That's where the Pacers play." Kevin Hart sold it out last night. And I'm like, "Thanks for letting me know that when there's 25 people here on a Friday night to come see me. You're really doing a lot for me."
Well, Indianapolis is a weird town also. I'll say this, and I love Indy. I graduated high school there, Warren Central, go Colts, Pacers, Reggie Miller. Okay. All right, I'm down. But that being said, John Cougar, Johnny Cougar in the Zone. Okay, so the Who. Let me back up. Bob Seger's coming to town. This is like 1980. Bob Seger owns the Midwest back then. You're from Cincinnati. You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? It's Bob Cougar. Bob Seger world.
I'd love to see a Bob Cougar mashup.
Yeah, that would actually. Hold on, you got to write that one down. That's pretty good. He sells out like 5 nights at Market Square Arena, right? Bob Seger. And I'm in line with my next door neighbor. His name's Mark Pratt, and we're in line to get stupid Bob Seger tickets. And I just wasn't into it. And Bob's great and all, but whatever. And we're in line for like 2 days, right? And we get up to the ticket window, and it's the 4th night, right? We've gone through night 1 sold out, night 2, so all while we're in line, right? We get to the night 4, and I'm next in line with Mark, and I swear to you, they closed the window. Bam!
Oh, man.
And I was like, you got to be kidding me. I've been here for 48 hours. I haven't showered. And then they open up the window, and the girl goes, "Well, we've got front row tickets for the Who. Nobody wants those." And I was like, "Excuse me," right? And Mark turns to me. I'm throwing Mark under the bus right now. There's people in Indianapolis that know Pratt that are going, "Sure, you're so wrong." But Pratt turns to me and he goes, "Man, I don't want to see the Who."
Oh my gosh.
And he turns around and there was some people that had walked away with like 4 tickets or something, and he goes up to them and literally begs them for 2 tickets to Bob Seger when we could have got these. So anyway, I get 2 tickets to the Who. Now, this is the sadness of the story. The Who, so we go to the Bob Seger concert, right? We buy tickets from somebody, we go, and we go to the 4th night, and it's sold out, and it's packed. Like 2 nights later, the Who is in town. It's the Who. During Eminence Front and Wild Boy, that era of the Who, 1980, which was great. We go to the Who concert, and it's half full.
Unbelievable.
And I'm thinking to myself, I'm watching this greatness. We're in like the 2nd row, right off of the floor on the side of the stage in front of Pete Townsend, watching him, thrash guitars, and he he got angry at this feedback at one point in the concert. I was like, dude, thrash a guitar. He turns around and spikes his guitar into his speaker and kicks the monitor, and he's yelling at the monitor guy, and he's putting his foot through the speaker. I'm like, it's the Who, man. This is great. And I'm looking around, and I'm like, the arena's empty. And yet there was 4 nights of sold-out Bob Seger. Something is wrong with this picture for me. And
I agree with that. I listened to Behind Blue Eyes today probably 10 times in a row.
When one of the brilliant intros of all time. Well, you know what? It's the intro to any Who song, right? The 5-minute intro, right? It's like the greatest thing ever. I mean, it's an art to be able to do that. And Who's Next? I mean, seriously, Who's Next? That album is just Baba O'Reilly. I mean, please, right? But yet 4 nights, Bob Seger.
Hollywood Hills, baby.
Yeah, right.
The Hollywood Nights, I mean.
Yeah. Now, okay, so back to this show and the paranormal. When you are with your comedian buddies, do you taking Michael out of the play, because we all know he's right there. He's completely off the rails. But do you guys talk about UFOs? Do you talk about the paranormal? Is there conversations about this, or do you guys, as open as you are, do you keep this stuff to yourselves?
Well, over the last couple of years, specifically for me, the more I've started talking about it, the more and more I'll have friends, reaching out to me and talking to me about it. And so now there seems to be a pretty decent-sized bubble here, at least, and even when I travel around the country, comics really want to talk about it. A lot of UFO stuff, a lot of ghost stuff, probably mostly ghost stuff. Like, I have some friends who are comics who love ghost hunting. Like Karen Rontowski, I don't know if you know her.
Yep.
She's a buddy of mine. Kyle Kinane is a guy who loves ghost hunting. He's the voice of Comedy Central. So if people watch Comedy Central, they know his voice. But so a lot of people are into that. There's actually a comedian out here in L.A. from Austin, Texas, Doug Mellard, really funny guy, and he's actually related to Whitley Strieber, and he's got some unexplainable things from his childhood about markings on his body and things like that. And so there are these conversations now that I seem to be having more and more, and comics do want to talk about it. Some of them will talk about it on stage, but not a bunch. One of my roommates is a huge Bigfoot enthusiast. His name's Dave Stone. He's really funny. He goes squatching all the time. Like, he'll book tours, so he has like multiple days off in between, because he's from Georgia originally. So through the Southeast, when he goes touring a lot, he'll give himself a few days to squatch, in between gigs.
Right.
Just rent a van or something. And
well, and how do they deal with it on stage? Is it always the alien butt probing jokes, or do they go a little bit beyond that?
I think the good ones go beyond it, because I think it's just like any other subject. I mean, like, the good ones will go beyond what the surface is and find something that is deeper inside that, really speaks to like a greater sensitivity of that person, and also of the people in the audience who can really relate. And I mean, I think there are some, there's some easy jokes. Like, I used to tell people, I dated a girl who could shapeshift, and the first joke out of most comics' mouth when I tell them that is, like 3 days a month, she'd turn into someone else. Oh yeah, I know what you mean. You know what I mean? So
Right.
So I heard that about 1,000 times. But then I think it's almost like, it's so weird. It's like the longer you're out about something, it's almost like the jokes and conversations you have with people, they go through that evolution of, getting past that surface. So like, the longer I've been out about all my paranormal stuff and like my love for it, because, basically I'm just seeking, I'm seeking like-minded stories, like-minded people, just to, it's a constant reminder to myself that, this isn't crazy. And someone had tweeted at, F2B, hashtag F2B, but and they're dead on about it. It's like, it's only crazy because we've been told it's crazy. Like,
Right.
And we have to redefine that. And I think for me specifically in my career, I really focus on it. I get to define what success is, and I get to define my reality to a larger degree. And within that, that's where joy, freedom, and happiness can really thrive. Because when we're measuring ourselves by other people's parameters and measuring sticks about how we're supposed to behave, what means you're successful in your career, what means you're sane in your beliefs. Like when we go by other people's measurements, it's like we're set up for failure. And to me, I'm trying to really break free from that. And it's a daily struggle.
This is what's really it's ironic. It's like the definition of irony in the comedic world. They, the humor in UFOs or the paranormal is still a little bit taboo, right?
Yeah,
and you can't make it funny. Well, some have, and some have been very successful at it, but by and large, that's the rules. And then in the UFO world, you can't joke about it, man.
Yeah.
You cannot.
Yeah.
I have gotten up in front of large audiences, and I try to crack a joke, right? And just try to come on. Because the seriousness of the audience, it's like gloom. It's like you're at a funeral, and everybody's got the serious face on. And I've had people come up to me after I have spoke, man, that shit ain't funny, man. And I'm like, can you loosen up?
Yeah.
Loosen up just a little bit here. Let's not be like this. And I think that this show, and I'm serious, Ryan, this show is about having fun while learning. You remember when you had the substitute teacher, came in and, today we're going to have fun while we learn, and let's have fun. I'm that teacher, right? Well, and you were like, oh, what a relief, right? Well, that's what this show, I like to talk about heavy metal music, and I like to talk about comedies, and I like to talk about film, and I like to talk about these things that interest me, as well as lost civilizations and ghosts and visitations to my room in the middle of the night by somebody that I don't know, and add that lightness to it, to a subject that is frighteningly serious and scary at the same time. And I think it's okay. There's way too much seriousness here that causes that seriousness and the threat of ridicule, and everybody wants to make sure that the rest of the world takes it serious. They got to take it, they don't take it serious. Well, you know what? The part of that problem is you take yourself too serious.
Yeah,
sometimes.
you don't have a sense of humor about yourself.
Right.
I've tried to pitch shows, to the suit type people, in the business, revolving around a paranormal thing that had at its core had comedy, and those were the notes we always got back. These people, our viewers, they don't want jokes, and I'm like, they do want jokes. They want the jokes that are good enough. Like nothing. People will always say these topics are off limits. No joke is offensive to me. Bad jokes are offensive to me.
Yeah, no doubt.
And so if you make a great joke about anything, it's funny. But a bad joke, if it falls short of being great, the more difficult, it reminds me of Olympic diving, high diving thing. Like, the higher degree of difficulty, the tighter that tuck better be. And and for me, my formula, if you want to call it that, is like the more serious the subject matter, the more ridiculous the joke has to be.
Well, that's exactly right. And I've had, I promise you, I've had some very serious people on this show that I respect. I mean, serious, not only experiencers and abduction, but researchers and physicists and authors. And you know what? They have never laughed in an interview. Right? It's always game on. And I get them on the show, and I make them laugh. I made Travis Walton laugh on my show, and I assure you, he has never laughed in an interview for the last 35 years, 40 years since his experience.
Yeah, and how more intense do you get?
Yeah, because of what he's gone through, and I understand that. You look into his eyes, and you know that he's been somewhere that I've never been, and there's something there. But on the same token, he has never laughed. And now, when we see each other in public, you know what? I'm going to go there, and I'm going to continue to put not only him. I'm not singling him out, but people like him. Stanton Friedman, love the guy. He's the driest guy in the world. But if you can get Stanton Friedman to laugh, you've done something. And Linda Moulton Howe and Whitley Strieber and I understand you guys have been through a lot and you've been challenged a lot. But you know what? We need to lighten up a little bit in this little circle of ours, and I'm not going to stop until I succeed. With that, and Ryan, you're my new partner. This is Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. When I come back after the break, I've got 2 winners to contact in the desert. Who are they? I'll announce it right after this. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Hey, I'll make you a deal. Give me 60 seconds, and I'll give you directions to the Fountain of Youth. Okay, I'm joking. Well, what kind of joke? No fountains, but youth? I got Nature's Youth, and their premier anti-aging product, Nature's Youth RSF. With your sensible diet and exercise plan, Nature's Youth RSF can help you look and feel better. RSF is an all-natural amino acid supplement that supports your body to naturally increase HGH levels without any synthetic hormones. And elevated HGH levels can contribute to increased energy, improved libido, reduced body fat, and improved exercise capacity. Let's be honest, who doesn't want to look and feel younger? Visit the newly designed website at naturesyouth.com or call 800-333-6923. That's 800-333-6923, and like them on Facebook, and you'll be included in contests
Now that you mention
and
it, I'm changing
exclusive
my mind
offers.
retrospectively.
What a deal.
Retroactively.
Oh, speaking of deals, my time's about up. 800-333-6923 or naturesyouth.com. Who needs a fountain anyway? Call today.
Did you ever turn to your radio for your favorite talk show to find that it's been preempted for this?
In the air to deep right center. That goes Lewis to the wall, and it's out of here!
Or this?
And I'm ashamed of you, Hillary, for voting for it.
Do you have a favorite talk radio program that's not available in your city? Just go to TalkStreamLive.com for links to the best streaming talk radio shows. At TalkStream Live, you will find live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All your favorites are here. With such a large selection, you will also discover some new favorites. On the go and still want to listen? With the mobile smartphone, simply type TalkStream Live on your internet browser. Now you can take internet radio with you. You will also find hundreds of music, news, and sports streams. Best of all, the TalkStream Live directory is free and there's never a login required. Remember TalkStreamLive.com, the fastest route between you and your favorite talk radio show.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Yeah, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Bespoke Radio for the masses on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Tonight, Ryan Singer's in here with us, manning the phones. And I'll tell you what we're going to do. First off, I'm going to we left one of the mics on here in the studio. And now you know what goes on in the commercial breaks. It's the real action. But I don't know if you actually got to hear the good stuff. But anyway, 2 winners to Contact in the Desert. Sherry Teagan from Ohio. Hey, Ryan, Ohio,
Oh, yeah.
Buckeye.
Oh, yeah.
Buckeye. Sherry Teagan from Ohio, you are going to Contact in the Desert. And Carrie Collins from New Jersey, you are going, I feel like Oprah, you win a car. And you, Carrie Collins, New Jersey, congratulations, you are going to Contact in the Desert. And I will give away a weekend pass, full weekend pass right now to Contact in the Desert. Next caller, if you can, I'll just do it. You know what? I can. I'm the boss. Next caller in, you will get a free pass to Contact in the Desert. All right. Now, I wanted to go back and I want to pick your brain on a couple of things.
Okay.
Who makes you laugh? Right now, who makes you laugh?
I mean, there is such a boom and great comedy right now that it's like it's an embarrassment of riches. I mean, right now, Bill Burr for the last 5 or 6 years has just been killing me. The time I saw Brian Regan live once at the DC Improv, I'm surprised I didn't have to have abdominal surgery after. It was just, I've never laughed that hard for an hour straight. Mark Maron kills me with his brutal, the way he's so intimate about what he shares and how funny it is. Kyle Kinane is incredibly funny. Guy Baron Vaughn is so funny. There's a comedian, and she also does a lot of like comedic acting. Emily Maya Mills, who kills me. Beth Stelling, just so funny and totally different. Like, I love comedy that's so different than mine. It's like I could never do that kind of stuff. I really love that. Beth Stelling is one of those very quick, dry, shorter jokes. Really great stuff.
The shorter jokes are always the harder jokes. That's and we were talking about that earlier. Let's go back to the phones. They're lighting up. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling? Say hi to Ryan Singer.
Hello?
Yes, you're live right now.
Oh, wow. Hi there. Jimmy, I just wanted to find out about the tickets for Contact in the Desert.
Oh, so you don't want to say hi to Ryan. You want to use
Hello, Ryan.
You want to use
Hello, Ryan.
Yeah, you want to use him right now.
I was so excited for you.
I'm sorry, Ryan. Hi there. How are you?
You're doing great.
Throw him out with the trash in the morning, and that's it, Ryan. Thank you.
I'm used to it, Jimmy.
Okay. All right. Okay, what's your name?
I'm sorry. My name is Mary Ann.
Mary Ann. Okay, this is what I want you to do. Mary Ann, where are you calling from?
San Francisco.
Okay. All right.
Mary Ann, I'll be up there on March 17th doing a live show at Doc's Lab.
Oh, cool. St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Okay.
Ryan got his plug in.
Sorry about that, Jimmy.
Yeah, that was good. Okay, Mary Ann, you want to go to Contact in the Desert?
I do.
Okay, this is what I want you
really
to do. Okay, I've got your phone number right here.
Okay. All right.
So what I want you to do is put your phone number in an email to Rita, RITA at jimmychurchradio.com, and we'll get you hooked up with a full weekend pass to Contact in the Desert. Congratulations.
Oh, fun. Hey, thank you, Jimmy. I love your show.
Oh.
And Ryan, maybe I'll see you on March 17th.
Oh, that'd be great. Congratulations.
Mary Ann,
thanks, guys.
I was going to say, while you're here, since you used Ryan for
no,
these.
I didn't.
Yeah, you did, but that's okay.
I know. I really didn't know I was going to be. Well, I was going to have to talk on the radio.
And you're doing really well. So right now, make Ryan pay his bills and ask Ryan a question.
Gosh, I don't know. Ryan, I missed part of the show, but have you had a lot of experiences with the paranormal or UFOs? Or I may have missed that because I was out. I didn't get home until a while ago.
It's okay. I detailed a little bit earlier what triggered my interest in all this. But the interesting thing, or at least I find it interesting in my life, is that I don't have access, even if I do, to paranormal abilities. But for some reason, I'm very good, or I'm very lucky in the way that I meet a lot of people over my lifetime who do. Whether it's empaths, I've met a lot of empaths or clairvoyants and people like that. So I'm very good at meeting these people. These people come into my life quite frequently, more than say I have experiences individually.
Oh, cool. Okay.
All right.
And they're all the kind of people that you believe.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, my whole outlook is that it's more fun to believe. And that's how I kind of try to live my life. I mean, as long as you don't become reckless in belief to where it becomes like a crutch or something like that, or destructive, exactly. I think it's more fun to believe. And why not? I mean, people will always come in with the science dogma. Like, well, this and scientifically and this. And it's like, well, if there's anything that is true in this world that we live in, it's that science is always proven wrong eventually. And that means that that means that the scientists are making progress. I mean, if we look, 1,000 years from now, if we look back to the year 2016 and think to ourselves, oh, they had it all figured out, I think that we really dropped the ball. And, I don't think it's over. It's not like I don't think we're done learning. So hopefully we're not done evolving, spiritually or whatever you want to call it as well.
Okay, Marianne, just go to our contact. Yeah, go to our contact page on Jimmy Church Radio and shoot Rita an email and put your phone number in it, and then we'll get you all hooked up.
Hey, thanks, Jimmy. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you, Marianne.
Have fun out there.
Okay, alrighty. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, I just love our audience. I have a question here, and from Kat. She wants to know what you think about Dan Aykroyd and his alien interest.
Man, Dan Aykroyd to me is great. Whether it's, you can go back to Ghostbusters. I mean, that's very topical now, too, because the trailer was just released for the Paul Feig, the all-female reboot. And, excuse me. But Dan Aykroyd to me was like, when he had that show that came out, and it was like, and then he started coming out of the attic, as we were talking about earlier, about being paranormal and being interested in all this stuff. To me, it was a real beacon of light. I'm like, you know what? I've always loved Dan Aykroyd, and now I love him more because he's willing to there's people who, there was backlash, I guess, if you want to call it that, for him when he came out about all this. Oh, Dan Aykroyd's a kook now. He's a maniac. He believes in aliens and all this kind of stuff. And he took a hit from a lot of people about that, and he took it in stride. And so I love Dan Aykroyd for that, and I'm a big fan of Dan's.
It was so impressive to watch him rattle off facts, right? About UFOs and ufology. He really will put me in check. It was like, man, I thought I knew what was going on. You know what I mean? And he's able to go bop, 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 bop. And he's a very, very serious guy. Very impressive and also honorable, to do what he did. I thought that I remember the first time I saw that, Dan Aykroyd on UFOs. I think that's what it was called. And I thought, you know what? This is going to be glossed over.
Yeah.
This isn't going to be what you think it is. And you know what? It was 10 times what you thought it could be.
Yeah, and I was really, my first concern was, because I wasn't really aware that he was so into this stuff, my first concern was, I hope it's not Dan making a paycheck. Just for the sake of making a paycheck, doing a show, that maybe some people came up with his show, it was kind of fluff, and then they got Dan to do it. And it was not that. And the way he's loaded. I mean, I love those people who have such recall of information. Like, we were talking about Smart, and you're talking about Eddie Izzard, who, by the way, I love Eddie Izzard so much, but I also hate him because it's like he's so good at so many things. It's like, oh, I'm a brilliant stand-up comedian. I also can run 40 marathons in a row barefoot.
Right. No, or in heels.
It's like we get it, Eddie. You are better than the rest of us at everything.
Yeah.
But
no
he's
doubt.
so great. But Aykroyd has that smart of the smart, the smart of the smartness, and I have some friends like that. I think there's a comedian, Jeff Tate, who's so brilliant. I came up with who could, hey Jeff, what's the 7th song off Led Zeppelin 2? Oh, that one? You don't know it? You're an idiot. That kind of stuff. Doug Stanhope is the same way, probably the smartest guy I've ever met. And it's just like Aykroyd's that way where you can rattle off facts, boom, 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 access to that information, which makes you really good publicly in forums. And I've noticed that about you as well. We were talking earlier today, just the whole time it's like you know dates and information, and that's probably where I need to do better in that when it comes to being able to have informed conversations. I guess my ability to access that information that I had learned and retain it is I could do better.
And why did you decide to do the Mindcast? I mean, because there's motivation behind that. You didn't need to go there. You've got a successful career. You're going you're going uphill and you're getting better at your craft every day. There's no reason to mess things up with the Mindcast.
I've been wanting to do it for a while, and then I just didn't have the gear, and then I also didn't have the full confidence in myself to not do a disservice to it, which was self-doubt. It comes from a place of self-doubt, and then eventually I was just like, there's this great book I read years ago that really helped my comedy career. It's called The War of Art, written by Stephen Pressfield. And what it does is it just calls you out on all your BS. You just have to be truly honest with yourself about what it is you want in your life. And then why would you chase something that you don't want? Stop being a fraud, regardless of whether that thing makes people perceive you in a better way or being cool or something. So once I decided that and read that, then I figured out, I was like, I gotta do that with this now. I have to dedicate my life only to the things that are worthy of pursuit in my interests. Not being a total selfish maniac, but I've already dedicated myself to this life that makes me an outsider in so many ways. To all the people I grew up with are like, "What are you doing?" My kids are in high school now, and I'm like, "Oh, that sounds interesting." But so I had to do it. I mean, eventually you can only ignore the knocks on the door for so long.
Right. And what have you learned? How many have you got in the can?
I've got right now full-length interviews, one-on-one interviews, or just interview types. I've got over 100, a little over 105.
That's my point. Okay,
Yeah.
I want the audience to understand. I went through and I was scrolling. I was like, oh my goodness, he's got a catalog of stuff behind him now. Now that you've done that, and I know because I do this every single day. I know what you have gone through. What have you learned?
Well, there's so many things I've learned, but probably the biggest lesson I've taken from this whole thing is that it's like overwhelming almost to me, like how beautiful people are and how every single person alive has a very interesting story. And the key to understanding that is simply just listening to them. And if you truly listen to anyone,
right,
you will be interested in what they're saying, as long as they're not putting up walls and trying to keep you out. If someone is open to talking to you and you just simply listen, truly listen, it will be fascinating.
Now, give me a strange experience with the Mindcast. I know there you've.
I'll tell you this. I'll tell you one of the strangest ones.
Okay.
I'm very scared. I'm a very scared man. Like, I get scared all the time. Like, my double shadow. You know what I'm talking about when I say double shadow?
Oh, yeah.
Like, when a light pops on and all of a sudden the second... like, my first shadow, I grew up with that dude. I've known him my whole life. We've been the same height every single day of our lives.
Right.
Anyway, when that double shadow shows up, I get real scared. I'm frightened all the time. I got asked to do this radio show up in Lake Arrowhead, California. Kind of like an NPR kind of thing, Prairie Home Companion.
Right.
Well, you get to stay across the street at the Brackenfern Manor, which is this really old bed and breakfast that was owned by Bugsy Siegel back in the day.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, and it's haunted.
Yes, it is. It is.
And I didn't realize how haunted it was. So I get there, and the guy tells me about the little boy ghost on the first floor, and I'm like, oh, little boy ghost, no.
Yeah, right.
And then the second floor has this prostitute who killed herself in her room.
That's right.
And then the third floor has Randy, the maintenance guy who was having an affair. And I'm just like, I don't need three. I was like, this must be a joke. It's the rule of three, right?
Right.
And then the guy, Jeff, who runs the place with his partner, Gay, like, this is what he pops on me. He's like, you can come up early and you can stay and maybe do some interviews. And I was like, oh, perfect. And then he's giving me a tour of the place, tells me about everything. He goes, I didn't tell you the best part. And I was like, what's the best part? This is after he's already scared the daylights out of me.
Yeah, right.
And he says, tonight you get to stay here all by yourself. And I was like, no. This is a bed and breakfast. You live here by definition. And he goes, no, I would never stay here. I'm like 10 miles down the road. And he leaves. And now I'm in this haunted bed and breakfast all by myself. Well, long story short, I wake up the next day, and I had been doing like some like commentary, like on my Zoom recorder, like I went downstairs and moved a chess piece. The little boy's not playing. More later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but I woke up the next day, and my memory card was full.
What?
My Zoom recorder had turned on recording while I was asleep and recorded 4.5 hours of audio. Now, the reason I tell you this is because
you're freaking me out right now.
I have not, to this day, this was last summer, I have not listened to it. because I can't, dude. I can't listen to it.
What?
And it scares, like, just even thinking about it right now.
Yeah.
Like, I woke up the next day because I was going to record some more stuff. Like, hey, fell asleep eventually because these two women did end up showing up who scared. I went from being really the most scared I've ever been in my life to being the most scared I could ever possibly be again in the future because they showed up outside. I was outside in the parking lot with my trunk open because that was the only light source. Because I couldn't be in the house anymore.
Right.
And I had started smoking again. I was chain smoking because I was like, I need to stay outside all night long until people show up. How can I stay outside? Well, I haven't smoked in 5 years. I'll just chain smoke out on the deck all night, right?
I'm with you.
These two girls show up.
I think that was a very good idea, by the way.
Yeah,
I'm cool with that.
But, yeah, so I got so scared. And then the next morning.
No, what happened with the two ladies that showed up?
The two ladies who showed up weren't supposed to be there till the next day. And you know how it is, like when you're 6,000 feet up in elevation, and there's no light pollution, and it's 12:30 in the morning, you can't even see your hand in front of your face.
Yeah, right.
And these two young women, probably about 25 years old each, just appeared like catty corner to my back left and said, "Excuse me," and then I screamed because I didn't think they were real.
Right.
And what they were doing was they were looking for the Brackenford Manor because they came in early. And they couldn't find the place, so then they came in. And long story short, and the next morning I woke up, I was just gonna be like, I fell asleep. Some people showed up, so it wasn't as scary. And then actually some really crazy stuff happened, but we cannot get into it on this program. But needless to say, they were a couple and they were together. And what I thought was ghost noises was not. Later in the night.
Oh.
But I thought it was ghost noises.
Right.
And so until I went to
good. That's good. That's good.
And so then the next morning I woke up just to do some more commentary. Like I fell asleep after these women were having sex all night, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And then, but I was like card full. I'm like, that's impossible. And then I just, oh no.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
it reminds me of the possibility of losing your mind. Like the movie John Cusack, when he's
237,
or
no,
1990, 1604,
or the room number, the hotel room number,
yeah. Just like that. So you're alone, right? Like he was alone, and your imagination, you're already armed and dangerous with information that is going to feed this fire, right?
Oh yeah,
and now you're alone. And there's nothing there but you and your mind.
And it's so quiet, too.
Yeah, that's what I mean. There's nothing there but you and your mind. And the place is haunted. And you're, man, that just, that's a good night.
Another time I did a homemade Ouija board with a friend of mine, Kat. She's a very funny comedian. I've talked to a lot of comedians, actually. That's who I have the most access to, I guess. And her name's Kat Yeary. She's very funny. And she made a homemade, she used to be a witch when she was a teenager and stuff. So we made a homemade Ouija board, and we tried to do it with just like a shot glass as our diviner or whatever it is. And
this is just a bad idea.
Yeah, this is a bad idea. We do it in my house, and I don't really tell. I have one roommate who's like super Catholic, so I didn't let him know that we had done this because he would have freaked out. Like a priest would have had to come over and like holy water the living room and stuff. Anyway, so so we do that, and nothing's happened. It's not really working for us. And then I go back, and then after the interview, I'm like, oh, I just want to hit play real quick to make sure it picked up sound. And I hit play, and then I put it on my computer to drag the file, and I noticed that we'd done it for maybe 15 minutes. I was like, this isn't working.
Right.
I look on the file, it's like almost an hour long. And I'm like, there's no way we were here for over 45 minutes, right? And she goes, no, that's crazy. And I go, look at this file. It's 47 or 50 minutes long. And she's like, that's impossible. And I go, did we experience lost time? And I'm very fascinated with the concept of lost time.
Sure,
and,
sure.
But it's freaky to like consider that the reality of it. It's
yes,
like, well,
yes.
What?
Yeah.
And so we're both just freaking out for the next 45 minutes, just on my couch, just going, this just didn't happen. This is impossible. But nothing happened because the only thing we thought we were having contact with the moon, and it was like making fun of us, like pulling jokes on us.
Sure.
And but then we realized afterwards that we left the letter R off of the board, so we didn't have a complete Ouija board alphabet.
Right.
And but then we're just like, this couldn't happen. Like the moon was making jokes at us, and then it's like spelling out ha ha ha. But it's like, well, we're both comics. Is that going to happen just because we're willing, subconsciously doing that?
Right.
And then it's like, but where did that time go?
So what was on the recording?
Just it's us, but it's like
Really?
It's
So
us,
it was
yeah.
a complete 50-minute recording.
Yeah.
You thought it was 15 minutes long, but indeed you go back and it's a full 50 minutes of you guys doing your ha-ha Ouija board
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, and it's us there talking, and it could be one of those things where maybe we got into such a relaxed state, we did such a good job of that time moved so much faster than
Drinking, drugs?
No drinking, no drugs. I don't do drugs. I do drink occasionally.
I have to ask the obvious.
Yeah, but
it sounds like
we weren't high, we weren't drunk or anything.
Wow,
it was the middle of the day.
Wow. Well, middle of the day.
Well, that doesn't really mean much
it
for
doesn't
comics.
matter. No.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. Did you ever go back and visit the Ouija board again?
No, not that particular one. I think we destroyed it after we closed it off.
Yeah,
And
good
then
idea.
I did go to Toys R Us in Burbank and go buy a Ouija board since, but I still haven't used it because I don't have a small enough screwdriver to open up the little thing, the divine or whatever the tool part is.
Yeah, the planchette.
The planchette to put a battery in it. And I'm like, because I remember being a kid being like, these things didn't have batteries in them.
I didn't know that they had. Well,
but I think it's to light up the viewfinder.
Oh.
But then part of my skeptic brain is like, well, is it causing vibrations?
Electromagnetic interference.
Yeah. So I haven't used it yet, and partly I did take it to Joshua Tree over on Halloween weekend,
right?
With some friends of mine who were all comics, and we were going to try to see UFOs and stuff like that. But we didn't end up using it.
Have you used your recorder for any ghost hunting? Have you gone down that road and tried to find any electronic voice phenomena?
I have not done not searched for EVPs yet.
Right.
But it is interesting too, and like part of me, and I don't know whether it's just me being like overly cautious, but I've always kind of had like a weird apprehension about ghost hunting. Like I've always been like, well, I don't want the ghost to think I'm hunting them. Like I'm a ghost explorer. I don't want to go in and be like, oh, I'm going to get a ghost and hang it on my wall so my friends can come over. There's a 12-point ghost up on my living room wall.
Right.
But you just have to push play and hear it as opposed to seeing it.
Right.
And but I haven't ghost explored yet with that. Like I said before, like ghosts really scare me. Like I'm very scared. Like I don't even really want to see one.
Right.
To be 100% honest, I that's not something I'm actively like hoping happens. Like, oh, I can't wait to see a ghost. No, it scares me just now thinking about it.
Well, yeah, and I told you, we were talking earlier, and you genuinely got a little freaked out.
Oh my God, yeah, I can see it. I can see a version of it, and it
really happened. That's the crazier thing. Well, I want to say it like this. You have been to our house, right? Right now we're in the bunker, right? But that house has not been ghost hunted. I have the opportunity, it's a nice house, right? Mm-hmm. It's not overly big, but it's not a 2-room, house. And it's 2 floors. I have the equipment, I have the knowledge, I have the friends. I could go and do an EVP thing at the house. But honestly, I don't want to know. I don't need to know. If it's like leave it well enough alone, right? Why disturb something or make something aware that you want to make that connection? Not at your house. If you want to go to somebody else's house or go to a haunted, an abandoned hospital, a prison. Okay, well, that stuff lives there. Okay, go. But when you leave, it stays. But if you disturb that at your own home, now you've got something you need to deal with on a daily basis. And I just think that it's best that you just leave it alone. Like the Ouija board thing.
Yeah.
There's no Ouija board over at Casa Day Church.
Yeah.
It ain't going to happen. You know what? We have somebody sent us a little collection. I've got a Ouija board coffee cup, and I've got a set of Ouija board shot glasses, right? A set of them. They're really cool. They've stayed in the box. I just don't know if you need to be pouring vodka in those.
Sure.
And like an invitation. You know what I mean? And just
now you're making me like retroactively freak out a little bit because I had this brilliant artist over in Europe, James Roper, do some. He did some like artwork design for me for the Mindcast, and he gave me a couple different designs. One's a palmistry thing that he made it very specific to like the topics we cover, and another one is he's got a planchet with two hands, and it's just like in this circle, and it just says "Me and Paranormal You. It's more fun to believe" underneath, and it's got the two fingers from each hand on the planchet.
Right.
And I've been selling so people can buy T-shirts or coffee mugs, and I bought because it's one of those, it's like society6.com where it's like made to order.
Yeah.
So I have to buy it too, even though it's my stuff.
Yeah.
So I bought like a huge tapestry. So for live shows when I do live interviews, and now I'm thinking like, oh my God, I have this huge tapestry with the the planchet thing in my closet right now. Like, what am I? Now I'm freaked out.
Yeah. I just let it go. All right, we're heading into a break. I was actually just let everybody know I was actually standing for that last segment. Pretty cool. I don't get to do that too often. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight is comedian Ryan Singer. More of your phone calls when we come back. This is Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Right back with Ryan Singer right after this.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
KGRA Radio. Intelligent talk.
Why do people order Life Change Tea? Because Life Change Tea helps the digestive system. Life Change Tea helps the colon unclog. The tea also helps with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and many, many other health issues. Life Change Tea also tastes great. And Life Change Tea is not just green tea. Life Change Tea is a unique blend of 8 different herbs that go to town, cleaning your body of harmful toxins, bacteria, and parasites. Our tea is number 1. Are you ready for your life change? Let the tea help you. Log on to our online store of helpful products to get your body on track. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Or you can call us at 928-308-0408. That's 928-308-0408. Not all tea is equal. Read our website of all the factual testimonies that prove that Life Change Tea is working. Health is important, and our quality of life is very important. Don't wait to order. Expect a life change with Life Change Tea at getthetea.com.
Hi, I'm Richard Dolan. When I'm not hosting my radio program, The Richard Dolan Show on KGRA, or writing new books on UFOs, I run a publishing company. I'm proud to say that Richard Dolan Press has published some of the most fascinating books available on UFOs and related subjects. They include Dr. Bruce Maccabee's classic analysis of the UFO cover-up, David Marler's breakthrough book on triangular UFOs, Dr. Richard Sauter's unique work on underground bases, and other classics by Grant Cameron, Chase Kletsky, and Dr. Bob Wood. Not to mention intriguing works by Eve Lorgan and Laurie MacDonald that deal with truly bizarre phenomena. I'm proud to publish such high quality and original works, and there are several amazing books about to be released over the next few months. Go to richarddolanpress.com to learn more.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. Fade or Night. Open lines. 323-825-5045. 323-825-5045. Let's open up the phone lines. Get it going. Our guest tonight, Ryan Singer, manning the phones with me live here in the bunker. All right, 323-825-5045. So now, Ryan, I wanted to go back and visit a couple of things. What do you, when you look at, I hate to do this in such a direct form, but when you look at politics and you look at religion and you look at the world today, and we're in the middle of an election year and all of this craziness that is going on, what do you think about the Illuminati and the New World Order and the way that that is dealt with right now? What are your concerns about that? Do you think there's somebody pulling the strings, that Obama's not really in power? You know, he's got a boss.
Barry Soetoro.
Yeah, right.
It's funny because, years ago I was, I think it all started with me seeing I've pulled myself out to the degree where I can't even remember the name of the place up north where all like the world guys go and like have their pagan ceremonies and stuff.
The Grove.
The Grove, yes, Bohemian Grove, right?
Yeah.
It all started with the video. I think it was Alex Jones.
Yes, it did. Yeah.
Where he snuck onto the property, and then I got really into that, and I went really deep, and then I started going deeper and deeper, and then I kind of disconnected from like all these. I stopped giving a care about like politics and things like this because I was like, well, it seems like there's all these things to make us divided, these things to keep us arguing with one another. So we take our eye off the prize, I guess, whether it's race or, the difference between gender and things like that. And it's like, these are things to keep us at bay from the bigger issues. And so I understood that. But then I got my brother real into it. And then because he was kind of a neocon. And then I told him, I was like, listen, dude, I'm not interested in the election. You don't understand. There's bigger things. And he's like, what are you talking about? I was like, watch this video. And then,
right.
And next thing you know, he's even crazier than me, I guess. And he went into the rabbit hole. And I don't think he would mind me saying this because he's since pulled himself out very recently, thank goodness. But, I mean, he lost his job because of it. I mean, he couldn't have a conversation with anybody that didn't end with, and that's why Hitler had fluoride in the water.
Right.
But it was you couldn't have a conversation with him anymore about anything without it turning into this heated thing about how you need to wake up.
Yes.
And I understand the urgency of the message. But at the same time, when you go too deep into something like that, there's nothing but darkness. And you have to I had to pull myself out of the darkness. Just to have a manageable, life. I mean, because you can really paralyze yourself if you go too far into anything. And, I don't know. I don't know where I stand on a lot of the stuff, but I'm definitely open to listening to it and trying to learn more about it. But, I mean, I didn't pay my college loans for over 10 years because I declared myself too big to fail, right, after the bailout happened. And I was like, well, I'm too big to fail too. So I'm not going to pay my debt anymore. The government can bail me out eventually, and I think that there is definitely something where if you follow the money, I do believe that if you follow the money, you'll find every answer that you've ever wanted when it comes to who's running things and or at the very least why decisions are being made.
That's interesting. Let's go back to the phones because I want to come back to that thought about when you jump into the rabbit hole. And it's one thing to investigate, to read, to learn, to research, and just find out that life everything isn't what it seems, and it's okay. But you still have to interact. You still have relationships. You still have a job. You still have friends, and there's even if those things interest you, it could be. It could be the Los Angeles Lakers, right? And you don't talk Lakers 24/7. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Man, what a delicious dinner. Yeah, man, but Kobe sucked last night.
Not everything comes back to Kobe's free throw percentage.
Yeah, and it's really true. And you need to keep that in check. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling? Say hi to Ryan Singer.
Hello, Ryan. Hey, Jimmy. How you doing? It's Jose from Florida.
Hey, Jose. Thank you, brother. Thank you for everything that you do. Okay, now we can move on.
Quick question, Jimmy. Did you like that picture?
Yeah, I just said thank you. You know what? But I got to tell you, everybody, this is Jose Torres, the photographer and artist, and who sent us that wonderful. You know what? It's just a piece of art. That's what it is. And thank you for that. And you know, and seeing everybody's reactions to it, Jose. The one thing I'm gonna say this to you directly. The picture. Well, there's like. Well, all of the stuff that you took at CITD was great, but you took two pictures that really stood out that were really, really good moments. One was the picture that you took of me looking up at the sky, and now we use that for publicity, and we love it, and thank you for that. You just caught a moment. I don't know how it was done. I remember it barely because it was 185 degrees that day. But and the other one was when you were at the back of the amphitheater, right? You're in back of like 1,000 people, right? And you had that big, massive telephoto lens, and you zoomed in when I was taking a picture of the crowd. I didn't see you in the back because you're just, you're the size of an ant. You're so far back in the amphitheater. So I didn't see you there. But you took a picture of me taking a picture of you. And that moment, that picture is incredible. And when you put them side by side, right, me taking the picture of you is it was just a great moment. And you captured. What were the odds of that actually happening? And
right, absolutely, yeah. You just don't see that coming. Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that. My wife actually said, "Why don't you use that picture that he's taking a picture of the crowd?" I'm like, because the way the picture that I sent you, I wanted you looking at the sky for the triangle and stuff like that. But she wanted me to use that other picture of you with your cell phone out, like pointing like you were trying to photograph something. It just kind of didn't work out for that, what I had in mind, Yeah. Well,
I don't know how you developed your talent, but you are really, really good. And you know what? The pictures that you took of the crowds and everything of CITD, all the action, that's great. But it was the other stuff that you took when you were alone out in the desert. That stuff, that was just incredible. I take crap pictures. All right, I can't. Some people, no, wait a minute. Most people take crap pictures. The people that are really, really good, the Annie Leibowitzes, these people that are able to capture a moment, at that second when they pull the trigger, right? And how they do it, it's an art, man. And you have got it in spades, man. Jose, you're very talented. Okay, enough of Jose. Enough of. What have you got for Ryan? You got a question?
Well, yeah, I do have a couple questions for Ryan. The first one would be, just because I know this bothers people sometimes. Does it upset Ryan? Does it upset you when people tell you, when they meet you and say, "Oh, you're a comedian," say something funny?
Oh, yeah.
You know what? I think in the first, 4 to 5 years of someone's career, when they go around telling people they do stand-up comedy, that is how most conversations go, almost 9 times out of 10. And what I would do very young, I was always kind of I could always kind of be a little stubborn fella. And so I wrote the most offensive joke that was very short that I could think of. So whenever people said that to me, I'd be like, "Oh, I've got a joke for you." And then I would tell them that joke, and it ensured that they would never ask me another joke. And
ask you or anybody else for that matter.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, I'm not going to tell that joke here today. I mean, I still stand by the quality and the functionality of that joke, and I think it's at its bare bones. It's a quality joke, but it's definitely it's definitely shock humor.
Awesome.
Well, hold on. I have a follow up for that. So then, how long did it take for you to learn that you just don't tell people that you do comedy?
It wasn't much longer after I came up with that joke, because then you definitely keep it a secret, whether you're on an airplane or whether you're on a train or whatever. You just don't bring it up. Usually I tell people I'm in telecommunications.
Yeah, I was going to say, what is your career of choice?
I'm in telecommunications, and then someone, if they ask follow-up questions, I'm like, oh, it's installation and deconstruction.
Yeah.
And then they'll be like, what does that mean? And I'll be like, putting it together, tearing it down.
Yeah. You can get them to shut up real quick. I sell alarm systems. Do you have a security
like import or export business, right?
Yeah. Do you have a security system at your house? Can I give you my card?
Yeah, once they think you're going to try to sell them something, then they don't want to talk to you anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. That is really funny. Hey, Jose, thank you, brother, for everything that you do, man. And are we going to see you at CITD?
I am trying my best to make it out there. I'll try and win a ticket, and if not, I'll try and make it out there either way.
Okay,
I'm definitely trying, though.
Well, just talk to Rita. Come on, Jose. All right, just talk to Rita.
All right, sounds good, Jimmy.
Okay.
All right, you guys have a good night. Thanks a lot. Okay?
Thanks, Jose.
Thank you, Jose. That is an absolutely interesting point. What about when you hook up with the big doofus guy? Oh, funny guy. Oh, so you got jokes. So you tell me a joke, funny guy. And it's not a comfortable moment. It's not somebody that wants to hear something funny. They're there to make you be the funny guy, and it's like that awkward moment, What do you do when it's that? It's the doofus in the room.
Well, a lot of people will
like a heckler almost,
Yeah, it's almost like a interpersonal heckler.
Right.
And what I do now is I go, listen, what I do is stand-up comedy. I consider it to be an art form. I am not going to perform my art casually for you in conversation. If you'd like, you can buy a ticket to come see me.
Man, that sounds like an ass kicking. You're asking for trouble.
Yeah, and they usually go, oh, you're an artist, and I go, yeah. I mean, depending on how much of a jerk you want to be, or depending on like how much of a jerk they're being to you, you can always say, would you ask Picasso to paint you something right now?
Right.
And then it's like, oh, you think you're Picasso, which clearly I do not. But
that's where it's always, you can't end that. You can't stop that cycle once you get it going.
Yeah, but you can also just kind of be a little nicer about it, and you can just, because I do take every opportunity to shy away from confrontation. That's why I developed a sense of humor originally. I think it was to try to always ease tension and get out of conflict. But you can always just say, hey, listen, man, what I do is more of a performance-based kind of stuff, and it just doesn't have the same effect when it's out of context here personally. You'd have to see it on like in a venue where I'm performing.
Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Say hi to Ryan Singer.
Hey, Ryan. Hi, Jimmy.
How you doing?
I'm getting a little echo. Is there anything you can do?
Nope, it's not me. It's you.
Okay. Well, anyhow, I did a little bit of comedy badly back in the day. I started off with Robin Williams at some comedy workshops, and of course we know where that went. I think I wanted to comment, Ryan, I know how difficult it is. People don't realize that the act of doing stand-up is not only stressful, but you have to be a good communicator, speak succinctly, be able to think up things and say them at a certain timing. And as that stands toward what we do on Jimmy's program here, a lot of these people have been ridiculed or are just like you, a little bit shy to say what they do. And it's funny because comedy, as you know, oftentimes is tragedy plus a perfect amount of time, and then you bring it up again, and it's funny. And I have tried several times to achieve that when I've called into the program. I have serious questions, but sometimes I ask things, and we've had a couple of distinguished guests on here that sometimes the humor goes over their head, but other times, I crack them up with what I say because it catches them by surprise.
You did? I missed it.
Don't you remember the Vienna sausage?
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, the Vienna sausage joke. Well,
and then it went right over his head, and then we also had... we've had a few people call in where I made them laugh when I asked serious question, but I pointed out the irony of things.
Yeah, that's a good point, Dino. That's a really good point. Well, I'll let Ryan answer, actually.
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of confused on what the question is. The is it like the tragedy plus the time equals comedy thing? What we're talking about?
We know that works. I'm just saying that when you have to talk about the subjects that we talk about, conspiracy, extraterrestrials, government, hidden things that we should all be told the truth about, that it's pretty serious stuff if it's true, and it's scary, and it's Nazi-like.
Yeah, I think that is an element that I guess isn't discussed, at least by me, a lot. It's the idea that it is so scary. I mean, because these things, and there's also a very large element at play here that it's beyond control of the person. Like when something is, there are these unwritten rules in comedy also that you're not supposed to make fun of someone in regards to the things they don't have control over. Whether it's a friend of mine just told me this. It's like it made perfect sense. Like if someone's born a certain race or a certain gender or things like that, these people didn't control. They didn't pick that coming out. So these are the things you stay away from making fun of. And so when it comes to having a sense of humor about specifically abductions and things like this, or if you even wanted to make it, carry it over into like the Illuminati or something, like the puppet masters in that kind of way, like things that make you feel powerless. It is much more, I guess, thin ice treading on that. And I think the comedy, we talked about a little bit earlier, the comedy definitely has to be a higher level to be effective in that way. And I think that's a worthy challenge, specifically in today's age. As each new day comes, there are fewer and fewer original jokes that can be written. So when you think of it that way, it's a greater challenge. You can either get depressed about it, or I like to be challenged by that. Like to become an original, unique voice in today's world, you have to be even more crisp in the way you do that. And I think specifically with this stuff, the paranormal stuff, it has to be even a higher level of difficulty added on top of all that, because it is scary, and it is. It's very frightening to me to think about like abductions, and whether it's sleep paralysis or the jinn or aliens or, fairies or demons or things like that, like things where people are being affected beyond their own control. It becomes a situation where you don't want people to think that you're ridiculing them, especially when they don't have any control over it. So yeah, I think it is difficult.
And I wanted to say, in addition to that, is that with all the things, I think you hinted at it about an hour ago, you and Jimmy, that comedians, whether it's Kinnison or Carlin or, Robin Williams, I mean, God, listen to Aladdin and all the things he brought up, and I knew him personally. But then there is this whole feeling that they make us break out of the mold. They crack the egg of what the reality is. And I don't know if you go there with conspiracies and shadow government, but if that's true, we keep hearing these horrible stories from the fringe that say Robin Williams was murdered for that because he made people realize you can laugh at authority. The same thing, Don Rickles. Go down the line, Carlin. These guys really make you say, hey, we don't have to believe that it's something. I mean, Carlin, for God's sake, I identified with him because I broke away from the Catholic Church, and he was constantly pointing out the hilarity of that.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I was raised Catholic, went to Catholic school for 12 years, and I had the distinct honor of talking to Bobcat Goldthwait, who's a prominent figure in the Los Angeles comedy scene, always going around doing shows, alternative shows, and comic book shops, all kinds of stuff, right? And we were talking about Bigfoot recently, and he was best friends. Robin Williams was one of his best friends, and we spoke a lot about him recently because Robin Williams is such a big influence on me. He made me realize that there's no rules in stand-up comedy. If you can find it on YouTube, it's Robin Williams live at the Roxy. I think it's 1978.
Yep.
And it is the most incredible thing. I remember being a kid and seeing it and being like, wow, there's no rules to this stand-up comedy thing. And that changed my life. And
you should have been You should have been with me back in '71 before he was famous, and we were doing workshops in San Francisco for improv.
Trust me, that's the first thing I do.
The guy tagged me one time on stage and came out of left field at something a point I was trying to make, and just went off, and it was something Shakespearean, and we all knew then this guy is out there.
Yeah, when I have the access to a time travel machine, that is probably my top three things. It's going back to see Robin Williams, circa 1971. So maybe you'll be there.
I'll tell you something funny. When I I was in the Canal Zone down in Panama during the Mork and Mindy days. And so we didn't have television down there. And we didn't, literally, forget about it. We didn't have it. We had Armed Forces Network that came on at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was off at 10 o'clock at night. There were 6 hours of programming of news, weather, a couple of soap operas, and whatever, right? That's what it was. No movies, no nothing current. And I was reading and hearing about Mork and Mindy, right? This guy, Robin Williams, Mork and Mindy, but I never got to see it. Isn't that bizarre?
That is,
I never did. I totally missed the boat, and I think when I finally moved back to the States, I don't even know if Mork and Mindy was even still on. But I never saw Mork and Mindy.
Oh, Jonathan Winters as oh my gosh, Jonathan Winters to me. We didn't talk about him earlier, but he to me is like, talk about the most beautiful mind of comedy.
You know what? I didn't have him on my list. And only
he was
because
Robin's mentor.
Yes,
Robin would tell you that.
Well, no. Robin stole all of his stuff from Jonathan Winters, which is fine. That's what good comics do. But if you didn't know Jonathan Winters and you watched Robin Williams, right? You got it. It was great. But if you are a Jonathan Winters fan, right, and grew up with him in the '60s, and then turn around and saw Robin Williams, you'd be like, "Come on, man! Yeah, that's." He got everything from Jonathan, which is great. Now let's go back to Jonathan for a second. It's a mad, 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 mad world.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, one of the greatest films of all time. Period. That's it. There's nothing to discuss about that. But you know who stole that movie? Jonathan Winters. Jonathan Winters not only stole it, but I don't think he was ever funnier than it's like he came into himself. In that film, when he tears down the gas station, you guys know what I'm talking about, right?
He transcended the movie, like his performance. I mean, and it also, like, remember those Cadbury egg commercials he did?
Yes.
I mean, those commercials. I loved him so much, and he's so funny that I almost gave commercials a free pass for 20 years after that. Like commercials. If Jonathan Winters can do this, I would watch every commercial all day, every day if Jonathan Winters would have been in every single one of them. And I would have bought all of those things he was selling. But, like, he, to me, was such a transcendental performer comedically that you're right. He was the best thing of that movie. I think he stole everything he ever did, but that's because I'm just in love with him so much.
Yeah, you're right. But there's something about, because the cast of It's Mad, Mad,
it's
Mad,
crazy.
Mad, Mad.
It's crazy.
It's huge. And it's the fun Ethel Merman. I mean, come on, give me a break, right?
I know. Are you serious?
Sid, everybody is just hilarious in the movie. But from the very beginning with Winters and the way that he dealt with that character and the truck and his how do I want to say this? His zone. He was in the zone, and I think that he found himself. And you have those transitional epiphanies in your life, right? Where you like you said, you go to another level. That's what he did, and he was able to go there and not come back.
Yeah, and Sid, and that's saying something. I mean, because Sid Caesar is in that movie, and according to most people, his contemporaries, there was no one better than Sid Caesar. And I mean, whether it's the show of shows or whatever, but like as far as like having the mind specifically business-wise to be able to pull off a show and have such a brilliant show. But like most of his contemporaries will say, Sid Caesar, I mean, oh my gosh, Sid is the man.
Right,
like, he is the guy.
Right. Yep. Hey, Dino, let me get to some other calls, my brother.
Okay, I could tell you more. We'll talk more about Robin some night and how I made him laugh.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Thanks, so
Dino.
much, Dino. Have a great night.
Good night. Good night, Ryan.
Good night.
All right, let's do this. I got to do this, hit a couple of buttons. Okay. Okay. So much for that. I was going to set that up for after the break. What I want to kind of move into, and 323-825-5045, and the two people that I just hung up on, I've got your numbers right here in front of me. I'll put you at the front of the line. I apologize for that. That was just rude, and that's the sound you heard was me hanging up on somebody that was calling in. I feel bad about that. What about writing? Have you been approached by other comics to do writing for them, and how do you deal with that?
I have not been, outrightly asked to, hey, do you want to write some jokes for me? That's never happened to me. When comics are hanging around with each other, we'll tag each other's jokes when we're on the same show afterward. Like they'll say somebody will come off stage, and it doesn't always happen, but sometimes a tagline will come to you, and so you say, hey, come here. And they're like, hey, that joke you're doing about this? I thought of this. I mean, take it or leave it. Boom. And then sometimes they love it, and sometimes they don't. And so I have done that for people, but I've never specifically set out to write for another guy.
How do you deal with that? Because ego comes into play, right?
Sure. I think it all depends. I know when it comes to my creative projects or things I'm writing or working on, I only ask for advice or feedback from people I respect. So therefore, I have to like their advice. I mean, because these are people that I admire and respect at the same time. So, and also, I don't know what age I was, but I mean, I'm 39 now. So it's like, as an adult, I don't ask questions that I'm not ready for the answer. But when it's unprovoked advice in that kind of way, when someone just kind of comes up and says something to you, it depends. My dad told me very young, I got lucky, very young age. He said, listen, always listen to advice that people give you. You just don't always have to take it. Like, just because you're listening to it doesn't mean you have to use it. So always listen the same way. And then I was like, okay, that's good. Okay, good.
You can't go wrong there.
You can't go wrong there.
This is Fade to Black, Bespoke Radio for the masses. Tonight, it is Fader Night, 323-825-5045. Comedian Ryan Singer is here taking your calls. It is a paranormal world, the alternative. Ryan Singer. More with Ryan when we come back. Stay right there.
Hey, what up, y'all? Sugar Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy Jimmy Church on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Another winter, another cold and flu season. This year, try Sweet Annie's Herbs FACS formula. FACS means flu, allergy, cold, and sinus relief. Vitamin C, echinacea, golden seal, and propolis. Nature's antibiotic and antiviral remedy. Karen from Springfield says, amazing product, a miracle worker for me. Go to sweetannie.com and order FACS today. Use promo code TALK for free shipping. This statement has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Imagine no longer being tied down to your computer, but having the freedom to take live talk radio with you anywhere you go. TalkStream Live introduces our first ever iPhone application. The talk shows you follow now follow you, and your iPhone is now the fastest and easiest way to stay connected to the best talk radio on the internet. Listen to live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. TalkStream Live, now available in the iTunes App Store.
Hello, Fadernauts. Are you looking for the ultimate Bluetooth speaker system? Well, check this out. The Studio Dome surround sound system, featuring the Studio Dome 1 SD1 and the Studio Boombox SBB wireless Bluetooth speakers, is the perfect way to get surround sound without all of the cable headaches. With its own hard shell custom carrying case for taking your surround sound experience on the go. Each hard shell case comes packed with an SBB, 2 SD1s, cables, and power. It's just $99, and you use the promo code Jimmy, and you get yourself some free shipping. Once again, Studio Dome brings you the best deal on the net. Anywhere. Just go to the Studio Dome banner, JimmyChurchRadio.com, promo code Jimmy. Go Beckley Teppy.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back to Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses. Oh, man, drop my pen live on the air. Tonight, Ryan Singer is here with us, comedian, live in the studio, Fader Night, 323-825-5045. And let's go straight back to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Say hi to Ryan Singer.
Hello, Ryan. How are you? Hey, Jimmy. How are you?
I'm good, man. Who's calling?
This is Mike and Cindy from the Adirondacks.
Oh, how are you, man? How's life? Say hi to Ryan.
Hey, Ryan, really cool, dude. I mean, you have a grip on a lot of things, dude. You really do. Listen, I know you're a comedian, and have you done any work in New York at all?
It's been too long since I've been to New York. It's probably been 2 years since I've been up there, but I'm looking forward to being back there real soon, actually.
Listen, Cindy and I, we've kind of been rehearsing a joke for you. I know you're a comedian, stand up, and I know you're looking for new material, but listen, it's a very clean joke, but I think you could use it in your material. You want to hear it?
Okay, let's hear it, yeah.
Okay. These two old people are going home to New York State from Montreal. They're crossing the border. They pull up, customs station. Customs officer leans over. The old man rolls his window down, and he says, yes, sir, where are you coming from? The old man leans out the window. He says, I'm coming from Montreal. His wife, his elderly wife, leans over and goes, what did he say? What did he say? He wanted to know where we were coming from. So the customs officer leans into the window and he says, yes, sir, what was the purpose of your visit to Canada today? The lady leans across and goes, what did he say? He wanted to know why we went to Canada.
And
customs officer, he started to feel a little friendly with the old guy. He goes, he says, yes, sir. He says, and you know what? He started to feel a little friendship with him. He goes, he says, I had the best time in my life in Montreal. One night when I was a young man, full of vigor and all that other good stuff.
Well, what is he saying?
What did he say? No, really. He thinks he knows you.
That's good. That's good, Michael. That's good. That's good.
That was terrible. That's terrible. What do you really want to talk about? You want to talk about...
Well, see, comedy is timing. And always remember, comedy is timing. That is a funny joke.
See, I thought the joke ended originally. This was where I was wrong. Was where the guy answers the customs officer, and then his wife, because they've been married for so long, leans over to the customs officer and says, "What did he say?"
Yes.
That's where I thought I didn't know the joke was. That's why I kind of started laughing because I thought the joke was that.
Right, and it was good. It was good. Comedy is timing, and there's a way to turn that into, Ryan. There you go. It's your joke. You own it now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Really enjoying listening to it.
It's been a great conversation. Thank you, guys, and be safe out there.
You too.
Good night, Jimmy.
Yeah, good night.
Yeah, thanks for this. Has been a ton of fun.
Yeah, it indeed has. It's not ended yet. We're still there.
Yeah,
Listen,
we're still going.
323-825-5045. So, where at a comedy club, the real funny stuff is going on backstage, isn't it? When you guys are talking to yourselves.
Yeah.
And let me tell you why I say that. When I am hanging out with a bunch of comedians and they start going at each other, that's when you see the real glimpses of brilliance, timing, and when it's not rehearsed, right? They're not up on stage, doing their thing that they're fine-tuning their craft. The conversations that go down and you guys are going at each other, that's where the real brilliance is. And what do you take away from that? I mean, do you find out who is really funny? And when you see that backstage and you see somebody who is really making you laugh. A comedian that makes other comedians laugh is the real deal, right? Of course.
Yeah, yeah.
And then do you see somebody go up on stage and completely bomb after he was just backstage, making
that's the
you
best.
laugh?
That's like the funniest to a comedian is watching another comedian just totally take a bath.
Oh, man.
Because it's just so funny. Because we've been there. I mean, we've all been there. So, but it's also funny because when you're backstage hanging out with everybody and everybody's just really ripping into each other, it's, you take it because it's funny and it's done from a place, I guess, of love and camaraderie to a certain degree. But it's also, if you can take it from the sharpest people in the world, right, then whatever happens to you, like a crowd of people you don't know being dismissive of you, doesn't seem like anything at that point. Like, I've been ripped to shreds by what I would consider to be, the brightest comedic minds in the world. So therefore, if an audience doesn't like me or someone heckles something like "you stink" or something like that, it's like, oh, that's all you got? So-and-so who, just ripped me in a way that you could never understand, like to a level of, but it's so funny, right? And you have to have that sense of humor about yourself. It all comes back to that. But I think different comedians are different in different ways, or I said different too many times probably, but now it's lost all meaning. But
no, you're exactly
right.
But
yeah, so I know when I'm backstage riffing with people and, maybe we're roasting each other, I can do that. But for me specifically, when I'm roasting someone on stage or in front of an audience, it's not my ultimate strength. So it comes off as people think I'm being serious.
Yeah. And do you just yes or no? Do you feel guilty?
No.
Okay, there you go. That's your answer. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Say hi to Ryan Singer.
Hi, Ryan.
Hey,
hi, Jimmy.
Hi, who's calling?
Yeah, this is Jim from New York.
Oh, hey, Jim. How are you?
Good. Well, I heard Ryan, talking about scary stuff, and earlier I wanted to know if I could share a poltergeist experience that was kind of funny.
Okay, well, the studio's dark, so maybe you can make something move in here. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, just to let you know, I've been plagued with it for 50 years, but in fact, the first actual episode was, when I was 7, when you'd be sleeping on your side on the pillow, and you'd hear fingernails go across the pillow right next to your ear, and it would do it every night.
Oh my God!
Until I finally got the guts to get up and look around. It kept happening and happening night after night, and I couldn't find anything. But anyway, after I ignored it, it finally went away because it was looking for attention, I think. But the funnier one, well, the other big episode was about 10 years ago. Getting ready to go to work, putting my boots on in the garage, and there's all these boxes with toys and storage boxes and stuff around me, and I keep hearing this noise like "hey" or or "you" or something like that, and I'd look around, there's nothing, and I'd go up to the stuffed animals and squeeze them, and nothing would happen, or if it did, the voice wouldn't match what I was hearing. And after about the 5th time, I look up, and what I saw was, you ever see those push toys that kids have? Well, back in the day, that were those pop-up things with the handle, and you push it, and it had a clear bubble.
Oh, yeah.
The plunger would come up, and the balls would hit the top.
Yep,
like a boggle thing.
Well, this was a newer model. It actually had red lights on the outside, and when you pushed it, it would say the ABCs and 1 through 2 3s or whatever. I didn't know this at the time. Well, I look up, and here's this toy. It wasn't moving. It was leaning against some stairs, and all the lights are going off, the red lights, and it said the ABCs and the 1 2 3 so fast that it sounded like a record that was fitting, and it sounded like Alvin and the Chipmunks. Because when you speed up a record, it's high-pitched. So it went through, it went A, B, C, D, F, G, H, I, L, P, Q, R, S, T, U, and then at the very end it laughed. And it was a demonic laugh, but it was super high-pitched.
Did it ever do it again?
No, but I ran over to it and I kicked it, and I told it, shut the heck up. And I went to take the batteries out of it, but then I look, there's no batteries. To do that, you'd have to push it.
Oh, man.
At like 30 miles an hour,
Right.
So I'm just like, oh, whatever. And I went to work.
Wow, that's whatever, man. That's pretty trippy, Jim. That's
when stuff like that happens, I just realize you just gotta like ignore it because it wants attention, and In fact, the last 2 years I've had visitors come that have children, and you put the plastic door things so kids can't get in the bathroom or down the cellar stairs, the child-proof doorknobs. And after they would leave, we'd take them off after they visited, and a week or so later, I'd wake up in the morning. What's the first thing you got to do in the morning? You got to go to the bathroom. I go to the bathroom. The child-proof things are on the doors. They would have to actually come out of the drawer where we keep them and go through a closed door, and something would have to put it on there. I don't know how it happened,
To me, that's like when I my levels of being scared, when there's when like the physical world is being altered in ways that I didn't, beyond my comprehension. That's to me like a whole nother level of thing. Like as far as fright goes, like, oh, now the physical world is being changed around me. And,
well, actually, I look at that, like, for instance, when I don't physically see it happen in real time, I can only call it unexplained.
Yeah.
Because I didn't, but the time when you physically have it happen in real time, then it's scarier,
Yeah, for sure. But, like, my favorite part of the story, or the stories that you've told, too, was you detailed the fingernails on the pillow. Next to you, and then after you finished that, you said, "But the funnier one."
Yeah, right. I caught that too.
I was like, funnier than it has it. Oh my god.
Yeah. Well, I can look back on it.
Yeah, of course.
But, when you're 7 years old, you're scared. The first 3 times or 4 times it happened.
Yeah.
It was really, and I would try to. It always happened at midnight, and I would try to get back to sleep, and it would do it again.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question? About your experiences here. Now, do you find that it was a result of experiencing these things relatively frequently, or with frequency, that like the fear would diminish over time, and therefore you could transition into like just being able to ignore it?
Well, yeah. But there would also be times when it would happen over and over, or it would not happen for years, and it would just out of the blue start happening again.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Hey, Jim, be safe this weekend, man. We'll see you on Monday.
Okay, thanks, Jimmy.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Have a good night.
Thanks, Jim.
There's one thing that freaks me out. There's two. There's 2 things that really scare me. You were talking about ghosts earlier. Let me throw this out at you. There's 2 things that freak me out. One is the EVPs of children.
Oh God.
Right. That I lose it. I just lose it, and it's just frightening. Even before I was a dad, those would freak me out, right? And now, once you become a dad and you get that other perspective on life, then those have a whole other meaning. But you know what else freaks me out? Dolls. Dolls freak me out, and the haunted dolls and the idea behind that is something that just freaks me out. I don't dig the dolls thing. When I would go in my daughter's room, we have 2 daughters. When I would go in the room, when they were really young, dolls everywhere, right? And I would just freak myself out. I would get in and out of the bedroom, man. It would be at night. I'd go and, kiss them, good night at midnight before I go to bed, and it would be...
Oh, no.
And
I think,
out.
I think for me, when I try to like understand, because I'm the same way, and I think it has something to do with the relative innocence that's associated with those 2 things, and therefore to take like one end of the spectrum of like these things are harmless and innocent and filled with love, and then they become the menacing thing, or the just the thing that is unexplainable. when it's supposed to be these things of like joy and love and just innocence, that's when you really flip it on its head. Like that's when it becomes scary. The scariest. You have time for me to tell you a quick scary ghost doll story?
It's going to be quick because I have to ask you, and we ignored this. I wanted to ask you about the United Snacks of America.
Okay.
You know, I really did. I have a couple of different questions.
Sure.
Okay, so
we can go to that. We can go to that.
No, you're the guest.
Okay, this will take 1 minute. This,
go.
This girl I grew up with, she was in my grade school. She had a really haunted house in Waynesville, Ohio, and everybody knew it. Like her girlfriends wouldn't spend the night at her house anymore because like crayons and things would fly around the room. She went to like TGA Fridays for her birthday once, and this was like one of the scariest stories she told. And so she had all these balloons, and she also had some porcelain clown figurines in her room. And which is like, why are you doing that, by the way?
Right,
and then,
right.
So she woke up the morning after her birthday dinner at TGI Fridays, and the clown had all of the balloons wrapped around its hand, like the strings wrapped around its hand. Like the balloons went over to the clown, and now the clown was holding them with like
shut up.
Just like so scared. Like when she told that story, it's just like I will never go to your house.
Yeah, or to Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah.
That's bizarre.
Yeah.
Again, I would just something about. I know it has to do with the eyes, right? And you just feel like you're being looked at.
Mm-hmm.
We've all seen, The Bride of Chucky, right? And so there's that element of it. Somebody just Tammy just said, Jimmy, come over here and hang out with me and Chucky. No, it ain't gonna happen. But now we've got a few minutes left. So and I just didn't get into this, but the United Snacks of America. In this PC world that we have today, you are definitely in writing that and doing that and putting that together. You're on the fine line of being really offensive to a lot of people, or you're brilliant, right? And so luckily it's fallen on the brilliant side. But have you offended people with that after that joke? After that story? At a club, do you have people coming up, like, dude, that was just completely wrong, and I'll never, see you again?
Yeah, I've had some visceral reactions to that joke. Like from all sides. Typically, though, that joke will, it's on a lot thinner ice when the audience is all white people.
Yeah, right.
If the audience is not all white, the joke immediately from the very beginning of it goes much better. And to the point where if it's an all white crowd, I'll have to tell them, I'm like, oh, there's a lot of cracker guilt in the room, and then that'll kind of ease the tension a little bit. But especially when you get to the brownies part, they really tense up there.
I know the fortune cookies is...
but usually the interesting thing about that is that when it's an all white audience and then they're very tense throughout the whole thing, once I get to the Doritos, and then that's when the crackers start laughing, which I found very interesting. I'm like, oh, now you're laughing. But I think one time I was in Atlanta, Georgia, and it was the first time I ever had a road week as a feature act. And I was having an awful weekend. It was the worst. And I mean, I was just taking a bath in I was just I was not getting any laughs. And one night after a set, I'm outside on like the side behind the comedy club, just like chain smoking cigarettes, like questioning every decision I've ever made.
Right.
And this middle-aged white woman walks up to me and she goes, "Oh, it's you, the comedian." And I'm just looking, I'm like, yeah. And she goes, "You know what? I'll have you know, we're not as racist as you think down here in Atlanta." And I looked at her, and it was probably my proudest moment as a comedian ever. I look at her and I go, "Oh, so what you're saying is you're racist, but you're just not as racist as I think you are?"
Yes.
And then she said she told me where to go and how to get there real quick, and then walked away. But that made it all worth it to me. And then one time I was opening for John Witherspoon. This was probably about 5 years ago in Louisville, Kentucky.
God, he's the best.
He is the best.
He is the best.
He's classically trained theatrically. I think he studied under Lee Strasberg.
He just looks funny.
He's so funny. And
he looks. Good. I mean, he looks. But he's got the. You know what? He's always going to get the laugh because he just looks funny.
Yeah, he commits everything. He commits all of himself to everything he does. Oh, he's so funny. Anyway, yes, so it was 100% African American crowd. I mean, we're talking like there were like purple suits in the crowd, everything, right?
Yeah, right.
And
matching.
And I'd performed in front of crowds like that before, so it didn't bother me because I'm like, people are people, and so I have the worst set. I have one of the worst sets of my life, right? And then I'm closing with the United Snacks of America, and so I get into the joke, and then I get to the part of the joke where I mention the brownies, and then I just hear the deepest bass voice from somewhere stage left out in the audience say, "Oh, he trying to get killed."
Oh.
And then I was like, oh, no one's ever heckled me that I'm trying to get killed. And so then, but as a comedian, you cannot show fear.
You got to commit.
You commit. So I focused on the part of the audience where I heard that voice come from. And I didn't break eye contact with that area and delivered the rest of the joke to that part. And then after the show, as I was outside selling, I don't know, a CD or something, my CDs with John, all these people came up to me and they just said, "You're crazy. I didn't know what you were doing. I thought you were going to get killed, but you're crazy," and that was funny. And so it just goes to show, if you believe in what you're doing, you just have to barrel through it.
Where did you get the idea? Where did that come from? Everybody's going to have that signature thing, right? And right now that's tied to you, and it's a good thing.
Yeah.
But where did it come from?
It's funny because I was a teacher at a public school at the time. I was a substitute teacher who got hired full time to teach this class, and I was doing comedy at night, and so I was kind of a total maniac, because I wasn't sleeping, because I have to be at work at 6:30, but I'd be out till 1 a.m.
Right.
And then I don't know. One day I was in my room. I was living in my dad's basement, and I'll never forget it. And and then all of a sudden I was thinking about the term cracker, like why white people are called crackers, and I was like, crackers, like white people are crackers, like would black people be brownies? I guess Mexican would be Doritos. Wow. And then I was just like, what? Oh, what would British people be? Fig Newtons? Oh, and then I'm like, oh, yeah, the crackers broke free from the Fig Newtons, right? And then they abducted the brown. And I was like, oh, my God. So the joke started off as being 60 seconds long. And then slowly but surely, it started getting longer and longer as I added more parts to it.
15 minutes now.
It feels like it sometimes, but it's like it's probably the first. It was my first closer that I ever came up with, really. Because I think it was on my album that came out in the very end of 2008. So someone actually asked me to do that joke live. I was on stage and someone yelled out "Snacks of America," and so I sat down to do it. And I honestly didn't remember. It'd been so long since I told the joke live that I forgot a couple parts of it. And then the MC came up, at the end of the show, because then I closed the show and said goodnight. And the MC came up on stage and goes, "There's actually a couple parts of the joke you forgot, but I'll tell you them." And so she did the parts I'd forgotten because she knew the joke. And to me, that was like, oh, wow. I mean, I almost felt like I made it at that point. Like, oh, wow, the MC knew my joke better than I did. So it was pretty interesting.
And how do you feel about it now? Are you comfortable because it is, like I said, it's a very, very fine line, and depending on what part of the country you're into as well, it could have a different meaning. But are you comfortable? I mean, do you close with it every night now?
No, actually, I haven't been closing with it for a couple years now because, I don't know, you just kind of move on from material. But, I definitely will do it, specifically if someone asks me to before a show, maybe someone working at the club. So I do it every once in a while because then it's kind of fresh again because I haven't done it in a while. But I think it is interesting. I've never had fear doing it. I mean,
well, look. Led Zeppelin's got to play rock and roll every night.
You know what? And that makes sense. And now I'm kind of having this realization right now. It's like, why would I not be doing that joke every night? But I mean, I don't know. I mean, I should be doing it more. And I think, I guess, because people do recognize the joke when I say it. And then I've had people come up to me after shows and they have disappointment in their eyes. Like, oh, you didn't do Snacks of America. And I'm like, right. Oh my God, I didn't even think about it, because
exactly.
I've got this other material that I think is good that I've been doing. But so, it's definitely something I should consider doing. Because, I mean, I don't know. It's one of those jokes where I'm like, well, you've heard it. Why do you want to hear it again? But it's like they do want to hear it, I think, sometimes.
Hey, I want to thank you for coming on. And next performance, what are you doing next?
I bounce around Los Angeles all the time, all kinds of shows, but I'll be up at Doc's Lab in San Francisco, which is the old Purple Onion, actually. Talk about Robin Williams and all these connections that we've been talking about tonight.
Right.
A very famous old venue. It's under a new name, Doc's Lab, on St. Patty's Day, so the 17th is when I'll be there.
And everything else is on Ryan Singer.
Comedy.com. Yeah, I got a tour tab there. You can just click on the website and you'll see my whole schedule.
Oh, man, I forgot. Les, how are you?
Hey.
Man, I had you on hold, and I wasn't, see, that's the brilliance of live radio.
Hey, Les.
Yeah, Ryan's
nice
got me
to
on.
meet you.
Yeah,
nice to meet you, too.
Les is one of our producers here, and he closes every Thursday night for me. And I forgot about my closer, just like you forgot about yours, Ryan.
Great job with the hecklers, Ryan.
Oh, thanks. Les was the name of my grandfather, Clark, who just passed away last year. Real great guy.
Good name.
You know what? You know what? I'm just going to let the network know we're going to run a few minutes late because I'm going to keep Les on. I can't do that. And I have some more questions for Ryan. Ryan, you got a few more minutes?
Yeah, I sure do.
Okay, we're technically off the air in 60 seconds, but I'm sure the audience is like, Church is going to do overtime. So we're just going to do a few minutes of overtime, and if the network wants to keep us on, great. If not, they can just cut us off mid-sentence somewhere, and there you go. Okay, so, but he brought up an interesting point, hecklers. And I wanted to earlier bring up one of the darkest stains of comedy, which was Michael Richards right here at the Laugh Factory.
Oh, yeah.
And now, obviously, the wrong moment, the wrong time, the wrong mood, the wrong thing was said on both sides. And then next thing you know, it was history making, and it was career crashing all at one time. How do you deal with a heckler? I mean, how do you deal with it? I've seen so many comedians do it in different ways. But how do you deal with it?
Well, it's an evolution. I think it's definitely a skill set you have to learn. And when I was very young in comedy, I dealt with them very badly. I mean, there was no ramping up to it. I was at 100 miles per hour. Like if someone talked to me, I was trying to rip out their throat, like verbally. And then I went through a phase where I was like, my goal in comedy wasn't to get better as a comedian. I wanted to defeat a heckler so badly with words that they physically attacked me on stage. Like, I mean, I was definitely a maniac. And then that happened. And as it was happening, as a man comes on stage and he's swinging at my face, I'm realizing I've made a horrible mistake. This isn't my goal. This shouldn't be my goal. But I defeated him with words so badly that he felt like he had to attack me physically. That was no longer an option. So, in a way, I felt like I kind of won, but then I moved on from that, luckily. And then Stuart Lee said something brilliant, a very brilliant, funny comedian from across the pond. He talked about, like, he used to be angry at hecklers, but then it was like, oh, they just don't get it. It's like my sense of humor, for whatever reason, doesn't make sense to them. It's not something I have to be angry about, even if they are. And I've just accepted it and deal with them in the way of like, hey, you know what? I'm sorry you're not having a good time because I really wish you were. But unfortunately, this just isn't going to work out between us, so you should just leave, I guess. I mean, and no hard feelings. And once I heard that, it really clicked with me, and I kind of try to really remember those words whenever something like that happens. Although the last couple of years of my career, I don't know, maybe it's because I've gotten better, hopefully, over time, but I don't deal with it nearly as much. It's not very often that I deal with hecklers unless someone just drank way too much.
Well, with Michael Richards, the thing is, I always thought he was brilliant. I mean, way before Seinfeld and when he was on Fridays and the other stuff, I'd always thought that he was brilliant. And now I can't take him serious at all.
Yeah.
And it was that bad for him. And I think the entire industry was let down. Not only the comedic industry, but the people that support that and go night after night. It was a career-changing moment for him. And I don't think that people will look at him as being funny, because you have to commit as an audience as well as you have to commit as a comedian. You have to want to laugh, and because you cannot laugh. You can, if you don't want to find somebody funny, and he could be really funny or she could be really funny, but if you're not there to laugh, you're not going to.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to him. He's no longer funny.
It's really weird, though, if you think about it. Like, it's so much easier to decide that someone will not be funny and not laugh at them than to decide that someone is funny, and even if you don't find them funny, you will laugh.
Yeah, that's right. That's 100% correct. And now, what have you ever seen a comedian give in to a heckler
and lose it?
Yeah, lose it and walk off the stage.
Lose to them. No, I've heard stories.
Me too.
I've heard stories of it. I've never seen. Oh no, I guess I have seen. It's not really fair to single them out, I guess, necessarily because they were a younger comic, but they just didn't handle it well. Like I think typically when that happens, it's because a comedian will attack an audience member and they don't realize what they're attacking, and whether it's because of maybe they don't have enough experience. Like I've seen people attack an audience member when the audience member didn't do anything. Like, you're not laughing. Why are you not laughing? You should be laughing. It's like that person's sitting right up front. The lights are on them. They think everyone is watching them the whole time. It's not because they don't think you're funny. It's just they're paralyzed in fear of being watched.
Right.
So when I see a younger comedian just attacking an audience member that's in the front row for not laughing, it's a 99 out of 100 times, it's because that person is so self-conscious about everyone seeing them. That's why they're not laughing.
Right.
But internally, they may be having a good time or at least connecting with you. But
right.
And it's really sad when that happens because then it makes that person, that person gets defensive. Like, why are you attacking? I'm having a good time. I'm just not outwardly showing. And then it just goes bad from there.
Now, have you ever stole a joke?
No, I don't think I've ever stole a joke, at least not on purpose. And
what does that mean?
No, that's just me being funny. But stealing is stealing, whether you do it on purpose or not. But like, I'm trying to think. There have been times in my life, I think, when I was younger, where maybe I was riffing on stage about something, and then I'll get off stage and I'll be like, I wonder, that sounds familiar, and then maybe you kind of think, oh, maybe that was inspired by something else. I don't know. There's never been a time in my life where I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that.
Yeah. So you haven't had another comedian come up and go, dude, you stole my stuff. And
no, I've never had that. And I've had a situation once or twice where another comedian has approached me and said, I want you to know I have this joke. I didn't see it from you. Or, we have a very similar, because there's parallel thought. And that's something that's very real in comedy. And the idea that every joke you've ever written is the most original, unique thought that no one else has ever thought of or performed on stage that's
impossible.
Something a psychopath would think.
Right. Wow. Hey, Les, how you doing, brother?
I am doing awesome. Actually, it was my question how he dealt with hecklers, and actually he did a really good job answering that. Thank you, Ryan.
Oh, hey, thanks, Les.
And Les, I want to thank Ryan for coming on, and I want to thank you, Les, for putting up with me. I honestly was wrapped up in the conversation with Ryan, man.
So was I, Jimmy. I mean, I was just sitting here on mute laughing. I was having a ball. Thank you.
Fair enough.
I got to be part of it, so that's good for me.
All right. Well, let's say goodnight to Ryan. Ryan is here live in the studio, so I don't have to hang up on him. He's going to stay right here. And Les, why don't you take us out of here, my brother?
Absolutely, Jimmy. Jimmy, before we go, Coast to Coast this weekend?
Yeah, Coast to Coast Saturday night. I've got David Jacobs and Michael Sala will be with us. So that's Coast to Coast this Saturday.
All right. First, Jimmy would like to thank all the first-time callers and Fadernauts who phoned home tonight. Fade to Black executive producer is Rita Camurion. Special thanks to LJ3, that's me, Renee, Jonas, Mark. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Brother Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vito, and Mark D. Kovar. Fadey by Dale. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music by Doug Aldrich. Intro by Spaceboy. See him at spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, syndicated on KGRA. And with that, for the week, Jimmy and I are out of here.
Thank you so much, Les. Have a great weekend. We'll see you Saturday night on Coast.
See you on Coast.
This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2016 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. Cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. On behalf of Ryan Singer, say goodnight to everybody, Ryan.
Good night, everybody.
I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Follow Ryan at Rysing. At Rysing. Be safe. Go Beckley Tepe.